Another pajama suicide. Here you are, Governor. Paper. Read all about your pajama suicide.
But dash it all, Susan, it's a crime. Suicide's a crime. Where are the police? Where's Sherlock Holmes?
That's what I've been thinking, Robert. Where is Sherlock Holmes?
I've got one, Watson. Play him, Holmes. Play him. It's a beauty. Don't let him get away. Blast. I've lost him. I'm sorry you lost him, old man.
What are you doing, old fellow?
Just changing my fly.
Don't be mendacious, Watson.
Me, mendacious?
Yes, when a man slips away 4 times in an hour to change his fly and still has the same fly on his hook, I call that being mendacious.
Perhaps it is. Matter of fact, I felt a bit faint. Touch of the sun, I
Touch
felt.
a humbug.
Humbug?
Yes, your hat's on backwards.
Oh,
Ah, just as I thought. You've been reading about those filthy pajama murders again, and you gave me a solemn word of honor.
Did you say murders?
I did.
Paper says suicide.
Nonsense, Watson. Suicides invariably leave notes behind them. Not one of these men left so much as a word.
Well, hang it all, a fellow hasn't got time to dash off a note before throwing himself in front of a bus.
But these people didn't throw themselves under buses. Each and every one of them went quietly to bed and behind locked doors. And each and every one of them rose up suddenly in the night and killed himself.
I never thought of that.
Obviously. Neither did Scotland Yard. You know, Watson, there's something uncanny about it. Something monstrous and horrible. Something that drives these poor fellows to their so-called suicides. And when you drive a man to suicide, that's murder.
You amaze me, Holmes. I say, hadn't we better get back to London at once with all this murder afoot?
I'm sorry, Watson. The pleasures of the chase are no longer for me. I'm through with crime, now and forever.
You don't mean that?
Yes, unfortunately.
But why?
Watson, I have a confession to make you. I'm no longer equal to it. Lately, I've been subject to the most alarming dizzy spells.
Not a swimming sensation. Difficulty in maintaining your balance when you stand upright.
Precisely. And you know what that leads to?
Cerebral hemorrhage if you don't look out.
Exactly.
Then we must get back to London as quickly as we can. I'll take you to see Armitage.
Not until we've had our fun, old boy. If this is to be our last holiday together, I'd like to get my fill of it.
Oh, say, old fellow, I'm afraid I upset you with that beastly newspaper.
Oh, think nothing of it. At least you know now why I left London in the midst of the most shocking crime wave since Jack the Ripper.
Watson! Holmes!
Sir, read all about it.
The name of Ronald Boyce Carter must be added to the list of suicides that have shocked London in recent months. It is indeed regrettable that Mr. Sherlock Holmes...
Ah! You know, Susan, that fella Holmes had no business dying just now. It's an outrage. A dashed outrage.
Poor man. I hear they're going to send all his things to the British Museum.
Things? What do you mean things? You mean his old boots and discarded waistcoats?
No, Robert, what would the British Museum do with his waistcoats? It's his scrapbooks they're going to exhibit, and all his records.
The strange death of ex-President Murillo. The giant rat of Sumatra. Ghastly affair. You know, in some ways, Mrs. Hudson, this is the happiest days of my life.
Now, Dr. Watson, don't get down in the dumps. What can't be cured must be endured, you know.
You're right, my dear, you're right. Sentiment, pure sentiment. Silly of me, I know.
Oh, dear. That must be the van from the museum. And his things aren't even half packed.
You go down, my dear, and hold them off for 15 minutes. And then they can come up and take it all away.
But I don't want them to take it all away. It's like tearing a piece out of my heart.
Oh, there, my dear. I know.
What's she sniveling about?
Oh, you know how women are. No control. I didn't expect to see you here, Lestrade.
British Museum, you know, had to have protection. They rang up Scotland Yard. I just happened to be there. All right, well, I didn't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry handling these things.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Ratty old chair, ain't it?
Repulsive. What's that? There's nothing ratty about it.
Perhaps you're right, Doctor. Many's the time I've seen him sprawled out in it. Oh. Funny duck he was. Was saying to my old woman only this morning, if it hadn't been for him, I'd still be a sergeant.
Pity you didn't mention it when he was alive.
Perhaps we understood each other better than you think, Doctor. All these old pipes. Why'd you let him fall in that blasted river? Why didn't you jump in after him, you big blunderhead?
Blunderhead? That's very offensive, Lestrade. Me jump in. I wasn't there. When I got there, he wasn't there. He'd gone. He'd gone.
Oh, sorry, Doctor. Take no notice. I'm,
Sir. Lestrade, would you like to have one of his pipes?
I wouldn't mind.
Oh, I hope so.
Thank you, Doctor.
You've picked a very old one.
That's the one I want. It's the one I remember best. I'll be stepping downstairs to the vans for a bit, Doctor. Take your time with the packing, Doctor. There's no hurry, you know. British Museum will still be there. What's the row about?
A registered package for Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, Neil signed for it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'll bring it here.
Fine sign here, sir.
Pencils these days, not worth the paper they write on.
That's right.
You got a knife?
No, I ain't.
Well, wait a minute.
All right. Cool dummy. So this is where a young ad.
These were his rooms.
Not much of a room, if you ask me.
Well, who's asking you?
Yeah, that's mine. I lost things like that before. Oh, well. I suppose it suited him all right. All right. He was no great shakes as a tick from what I heard. Just one of them easy chair Johnnies. Would sat on his tail and let everybody else do the dirty work.
That'll be enough.
Mind you, I ain't saying he didn't get that credit, but newspapers can be bought. Can't they now?
You insect. You dare to imply...
All right, Governor. Keep your shirt on. I've got a right to my opinion. And it's my opinion that Mr. Sherlock Holmes was nothing more but an old herring gut.
You say that again.
An herring gut. An old herring gut. Oh!
Up to get you, worm. We'll see who's a herring gut.
It's all right, Watson. I take it back. Call off your dogs.
Holmes! Holmes.
It's all right, old boy. Don't look like that. Get hold of yourself. Here, have a drink. My word, you made a shambles of this room.
How could you play such a trick on me?
You brought it on yourself, old man. Throwing open my records to the public, tipping off every criminal in the country. For sheer addle-headedness, you've surpassed yourself. Don't you realize the dynamite that's in those records? I had to stop you, even if I had to come back from the dead to do it.
I'll never forgive you for this, Holmes. Not until my dying day.
It was a filthy trick, I grant you. But I had to see you. No one ever looks twice at a postman, you know.
If the books are ready, Doctor...
You can put them under lock and key at the yard, Inspector.
I'm seeing things.
How are you, Lestrade?
Well, strike me up a gum tree. Just when we thought we had you nicely dead and buried. What a sell.
My return from the dead was absolutely necessary, Inspector.
Necessary, me Aunt Dinah's bustle. You give yourself a treat acting about all over the place. What's the game, anyway?
Very briefly this. It's obvious that these so-called pajama suicides are really murders. Brilliantly conceived and executed, they're very near to being perfect crimes. Where's my calabash? Oh, well, never mind. Indubitably, these murders are the work of a well-organized gang. And directing them is one of the most fiendishly clever minds in all Europe today.
Any notion who?
I suspect a woman. Any tobacco around this place, Watson?
Yes, I packed it. A woman? You amaze me, Holmes. Why a woman?
Because the method, whatever it is peculiarly subtle and cruel. Feline, not canine.
Poppycock. Canine, feline, quinine. When a bloke does himself in, that's suicide.
Unless the bloke is driven to suicide, and in that case, it's murder.
Driven? That sounds like a woman, doesn't it?
Definitely. A female Moriarty. Clever, ruthless, and above all, cautious. Therefore, my first step was to give her enough rope by passing out of the picture.
I see. When the cat's away, the mice begin to play, eh?
Precisely.
Bosh, you and your theories.
Oh, serious.
Anyone would think you had eyes in the back of your head.
You can keep the pipe, Lestrade.
Sorry, old man. I gave it to him.
Very right and proper, Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Now, what features have these pajama suicides in common?
Poor fellows just die in the middle of the night,
Nobody near them.
behind locked doors.
And they're all well-to-do, more or less.
Right. And each and every one of them, it seems, was fond of the pleasures of the gaming table. Keep that in mind. It's highly significant. It gives us our one and only lead.
Lead to what?
My dear Lestrade, if we're to set a trap for this femme fatale,
What?
I see no reason why we shouldn't bait it with the kind of food she likes. Got a pencil, Watson?
No, I gave it back to the postman.
Yeah, take this one. Don't break the point this time. Now, write what I dictate. And you, Lestrade, I trust you to see that it gets into the newspapers.
Murders.
Ready, Watson?
Go ahead.
The distinguished native officer, Rajneesh Singh, colonel of the Maharaja of Umpur's own Lancers, has just arrived in London.
Rajneesh Singh? I never heard of the gent.
He was just born, Watson.
Oh, I see. Huh?
Carry on, old boy. In spite of his well-known devotion to the goddess of chance,
In spite of his well-known devotion to the goddess of chance, Rajneesh Singh insists that his visit to our shores is solely in the hope that British surgeons may restore his left arm, paralyzed in the service of the Empire. Sounds rather a nice person to know, doesn't he?
Exciting.
I'll have to get a new line of small talk. What do they do in India, Norman?
Oh, ride elephants.
Oh, how cumbersome. You must see that he gets a card to the urban casino.
Number 20, black, even, pass. Make your bets, ladies and gentlemen, make your bets. Make your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
S'il vous plaît? May I?
by all means, madame. You changed my luck, I hope.
Make your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Make your bets. Number 7, Red Odd Miss.
How ghastly.
The fortune of war, madame.
So sorry I didn't bring you luck.
But you have brought me the charm of your presence, madame. Excuse me.
Make your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Make your bets.
Blank check, please.
Name, please.
Rajni Singh. 100 pounds.
Make your bets, ladies and
Excuse
gentlemen.
me.
Make your bets.
How's your luck, my sweet?
I think it will cut up rather large.
Make your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, Norman, you have this gentleman's place.
So sorry.
Thank you. 16.
Oh, not 16 again.
You play.
19. I feel lucky. I almost wish that you...
Would play 19. Wish me luck. It is kind of you to be concerned for a stranger.
But no one from your country is like a stranger to me.
Make your bets.
You see, my father was Captain Spedding of the Bengal Lancers. I was born at Srinagar.
In the Kashmir. It is there the most beautiful women in the world are born.
That's all now. No more. Number 16, Red Even Miss.
If only I'd let you alone.
It is fate, madame. One cannot fight it. If you wish to take my place, sir.
Thank you.
Good night, madame. And goodbye.
Make your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Make your bets.
Don't. Oh, you mustn't.
A struggle would be unseemly, madame. Another time, if you'll excuse me.
No, please. Things will look very different in the morning, I assure you.
That is easy to say.
Oh, but I know. I've been in the same situation myself.
You?
Some time ago, I lost all my money. Nasty jolt, isn't it?
The money, madame, it is nothing. But honor, that is everything.
Honor?
It is not easy to confess. I am, as you may not know, a soldier of some distinction. Could you believe that just now I drew a check? It is worthless.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Haven't you any funds at all?
Nothing. Not even enough to pay my bill at the hotel.
No friends?
Not here in London.
Well, haven't you anything you can raise money on? Jewels or...
You think of native princes, madame. Such is not my good fortune.
Perhaps an insurance policy.
No, nothing. Only a little 5,000 pounds. I cannot borrow on it. It has not been long enough in force.
Ah, nonsense. It's perfectly simple if you know the right people. I can send you to someone if you wish.
Is it possible?
Of course, you have to pay interest. A mere 5%. All you do is make your policy over to the man who accommodates you. Make him your beneficiary.
In the event of my death?
Yes. But you're not going to die, are you?
It would be an impertinence, madame, to take my life out of your hands. How strange that a man's life should lie in such a little hand. So soft. I may come tomorrow and see you to thank you, madame. Please.
Your flowers are lovely, Rajni Singh. So fragrant.
It is your room that is fragrant, madame. With memories of my native land. It is all so real, so nostalgic.
Mother India.
Mother of mysteries. May I?
Oh, by all means. They're just some photographs my uncle picked up years ago. I have them out to keep my memories of India fresh.
These mountain peaks, I do not seem to place them.
The Karakorams in the northeast. The pillars of Parvati, the natives call them.
Oh, yes. I recognize them now. This low, rambling structure, what is it?
The Shrine of the Sacred Cow.
Oh, yes, a place of holy meditation.
Do you take milk and sugar?
Neither, thank you. Tea should be taken pure, I think, so as not to disguise its flavor.
I quite agree with you. I do not like disguises. Biscuit?
Thank you. Thank you. It's so tiresome only to have one hand.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I should have remembered.
It is not my poor hand I wish you to remember, madame. It is I.
Oh, but I shall. Always.
Ladies have been known to forget, you know. That is why I have brought you this.
Oh, you shouldn't.
Why not? The man you sent me to advanced me £500 on my worthless policy, and all I could think of was you. Please.
I really shouldn't. But I must see it. Oh, how simply breathtaking.
You like it?
Why, I'm mad about it.
You must let me take it back to the jeweler. Have it properly marked. A.S. or just Adria.
Just Adria. But do let me wipe it. My finger marks are all over it.
No, no. They are precious to me.
Your tea must be cold. Do let me...
Thank you.
Oh. How horrible of me.
It is nothing, I assure you, madame.
But your poor hand. I shall never forgive myself.
It is I who am clumsy, madame.
Hello, you nice people.
My half-brother, Norman Locke. Rajni Singh.
I'm delighted.
How do you do?
I'm so sorry we have nothing in the house for burns. I so seldom get burned.
Please, I shall go to the chemist. Au revoir, madame. Till we meet again.
Soon, I hope.
Don't bother to see me out. Thank you.
I say, I never burn anyone unintentionally.
Neither do I. I wanted to see him use that left arm, and he did. He's no more a cripple than you are. He's on to us, Norman.
Does he know that you're onto him?
He does, if he's the man I think he is.
Don't be cryptic, darling.
Look at that.
What of it? It's Rajni Singh.
Now look at this.
It can't be Sherlock Holmes. He's dead.
Is he, Norman? I doubt it. But if you were to say to me tomorrow, Sherlock Holmes is dead.
There we are. All right and tight. Nothing can get through that.
I don't understand. If you want to keep them out, how'd you expect them to get in?
My dear Lestrade, my purpose is fairly simple. I merely wish to duplicate the conditions under which these so-called pajama murders occurred. Locked doors, sealed windows, and no opening through which any human agency could possibly enter this room.
I don't hold with that. Where there's a murder, there's got to be a murderer. That's the way I look at it.
Precisely, but it's not the murder I'm after. It's the means of murder. The secret and terrible machinery of these crimes.
Now, you don't expect anyone to pop out of that.
I expect nothing and everything.
Keep your eye on that alley. I may be coming down sudden-like, see?
Right.
Now, if you'll be so good as to wait outside, I'll put Sherlock Holmes to bed.
I'd feel a lot easier in my mind.
Good night, Lestrade. Just stay within call.
It happens awful quick when it happens.
Good night. So I know, boy. Here I am. That's just a mask I had made.
Oh.
There's your killer. Quick, down the back stairs to the alleyway. Stop anyone who tries to leave out. Cover the roof. There you are!
You winged him proper, Mr. Holmes. He's as dead as a doornail. Not a mark of identification on him.
Too bad. I wish we had him alive. What do you make of these?
Air holes, eh? Looks like he must have carried
something, but what? The instrument of death was a spider. There's no doubt about it, Lestrade. And the bite of the creature drove these pajama suicides to kill themselves.
How did he get into your room?
Through this ventilator.
Now, don't tell me that there spider had your name and address in his pocket.
Hardly. This screen was removed from the mouth of the ventilator, obviously to admit something much larger than a spider. We know only half of the machinery of these crimes. Out of the light.
Great Scott. Little one, ain't it?
The footprint of a child.
It's a good job. I had me mother with me. Oh, paper say yes. Read all about it. Sherlock Holmes, he ain't dead now, not at all.
Dr. Watson would neither confirm nor deny the report that he had seen his friend since his startling disappearance. The good doctor maintains a profound silence.
Come in.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Mr. Holmes, I presume?
Dr. Livingston's the name. How are you, Mr. Stanley?
I'm very happy to meet you, Dr. Livingston. My name is Adam Gilflower from the Bureau of Entomology.
Oh, a bug hunter. Let me take those. Won't you sit down, Mr. Gilfillet?
Gilflower is the name, sir.
Oh, flower, yes. It goes with insects. Flora and fauna. I see you don't like to face the light, Mr. Phil Gillett.
My eyes give me a great deal of trouble, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That's too bad. That's too bad. They're useful things, eyes. They rest the glasses.
I have an appointment with Mr. Holmes. Will he be here soon?
Will he? He certainly will, Mr. Wallflower. As a matter of fact, he's here now. You're sitting on him. No, don't bother to get up. You tell Docky Wocky all about it.
I don't understand.
Not half you don't, you old herring gut.
I beg your pardon.
Of all the transparent old fakers I ever saw. Gilflower, what a name to pick. Gilflower, Billflower, Bullfrog, Giggle-Woggle, Wiggle-Woggle. Why, you can do better than that. A child can see through you. Those dark glasses, that preposterous wig. Come out from behind those silly whiskers. I know you.
Watson.
Holmes.
My dear fellow, you've surpassed yourself. I think you owe Mr. Gilflower an apology.
They're stark mad.
But not dangerous, I assure you. My name is Holmes. I know your time is precious, but my business is urgent. Thank you for coming so promptly. I believe you know more about spiders than any man in London.
Oh, I shouldn't say quite that, Mr. Holmes.
I wonder if you could identify this specimen and tell me something of its manners and its morals.
This poor fellow's been very roughly handled. Have you a magnifying glass?
Yes, oh.
Here it is, Holmes. Oh, sorry.
Oh, come, old fellow. Don't look so down in the mouth. The game's afoot and I shall need you.
Will you really, Holmes?
Naturally. Here you are, sir.
Extraordinary. Mr. Holmes, where did you find this creature?
You recognize it?
The deadliest insect known to science. It is the Lycosa carnivora. Habitat the upper reaches of the Obongo River.
Its bite is fatal.
hideously. Human beings are its chosen prey. And its venom, once injected into the bloodstream, causes such excruciating agony that the victim is driven to self-destruction.
Does the bite of this creature leave any trace?
Only if you know what to look for. 2 small punctures hardly visible to the naked eye.
And its virus disappears in the bloodstream?
Completely. It's the only thing.
Tell me, sir, could one get hold of a live specimen of the Lycosa carnivora in London?
Oh, I doubt it. Oh, hold on. Ordway might help. Matthew Ordway, Laburnum Villa.
Write it down, Watson.
Matthew Ordway, Laburnum Villa, New Road, Chipping Walton. Mr. Ordway is slightly eccentric, but that shouldn't trouble you. Huh? He has a remarkable collection of spiders. You might tell him that I sent you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilflower. That's very kind of you and very helpful.
Oh, don't mention it, sir. I'm a law-abiding citizen, always willing to help at any hazard. Good day, Mr. Potson.
Potson? That's not very funny.
I think it's understandable, Watson. Now the word. Where's my Bradshaw? Here it is. Look up the trains to Chipping Walton, will you? There's good fellow. Visitor Matthew Ordway and his spiders is indicated. If Ordway is disposed of any Lycosa carnivora in the last few months, and he can tell us who took them. Found that train for Chipping Walton yet, Watson?
The wretched trains start, and they go, but they never seem to arrive.
My case precisely. I know the means of these murders. I know the motive. I know the woman who directs the murder ring.
And it is a woman.
A fiend, Watson. She selects her victims from those desperately in need of money, persuades them to pawn their insurance policies with her various accomplices, and then kills them by means of Lycosa carnivora.
Incredible.
No more incredible than nature herself. Here, let me have that. After all, nature provides the means. Our Spider Woman merely uses it.
You amaze me, Holmes. Hasn't she some difficulty in realizing these policies later on?
Not she. In due time, 2 years under English law, her victim's beneficiaries come forward and cash in. Never the same man twice, mind you.
But you know this for a fact.
As well as I know my own name. And yet I haven't one shred of evidence to connect this woman with her crimes. You're in my light, old boy.
Oh, so?
Here we are, Chipping Walton. Arrive.
Come in.
There's a lady outside to see you, Mr. Holmes, a Miss Spedding.
Oh. Ask her to come in.
All right.
Mr. Holmes? Oh, yes, I recognize you now from your picture in the papers. I was so relieved to hear you were alive.
How very kind of you.
My name is Adria Spedding.
Won't you come in?
Thank you. My little nephew, Mr. Holmes.
How are you, my lad?
I'm playing nurse today.
I'm sure you'll give an exceptional performance, Miss Spedding.
Poor child, he's a mute. Vocal cords paralyzed from birth.
Oh, how unfortunate.
Say, he's scratched his hand, hasn't he?
Yes, he's always climbing into the most unlikely places. Run along, dear, and sit in that chair. There's a good boy. Right over there.
What are you doing, my boy? That's me.
Sit down.
Jump in the boat.
Oh, I beg your pardon. My colleague, Dr. Watson, Miss Adria Spedding.
Oh, how do you do? It's a great pleasure.
Mr. Holmes, my business is of utmost privacy.
I assure you, Dr. Watson is the very soul of discretion. Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
And now, Miss Spedding, how can I be of service to you?
Well, I hardly know where to begin. Perhaps I'm unduly alarmed, but you see, a friend of mine has disappeared.
Indeed.
I've tried to get in touch with him at his rooms, but he's not there. And he seems to have left no word.
His name?
Rajni Singh. He was from India.
Rajni Singh. I seem to have heard of him.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, I'm terribly afraid I shall never see him again.
Oh, come now, Miss Spedding. I'm sure you won't have to look far.
Look at all the pretty butterflies. Perhaps you're right.
Larry, stop that. Oh, you naughty boy. Put on your shoes and socks.
No letting go barefoot. Boys like to. Didn't you, Watson?
Didn't I what?
Like to go barefoot.
Yes, I always ran through the dewy grass in the early mornings. They used to call me Twinkle Toes.
I'm sure you were a beautiful baby, Watson. Now tell me, Miss Bedding, just why are you so concerned about this Rajni Singh?
Well, you see, he pawned his insurance policy to get a loan. The minute I found he was missing, I went to the loan shark and redeemed the policy.
Why?
I didn't want to put temptation in the way of people who might profit by his death.
How very thoughtful of you.
If you could find Rajni Singh, you might return this policy to him with the compliments of a friend. Of course, you're going to be paid for your trouble.
I have every confidence, Miss Bedding, that you're not one to leave a score unsettled.
Larry, let it go. Come here. He seems possessed to catch flies. Now, if you put on your shoes and socks, Auntie will give you a nice sweet.
You have quite a way with children.
Oh, I bribe him shamefully. This will be the third today, would you believe it? American candy, hard to get. There. Now, mind you don't get your fingers sticky.
Cunning little beggar. One could almost tuck him into a suitcase. He must be a great comfort to you.
Oh, he is.
Cigarette?
Thank you. Oh, what a lovely case.
Yes, isn't it? I picked it up quite by accident. There wasn't a mark on it, except some negligible fingerprints that the police couldn't identify. You may have it, Miss Bedding.
Why give it to me?
Should we call it a trophy of the chase?
Oh, I really shouldn't.
Breathtaking, isn't it?
I owe you a great deal for this, Mr. Holmes. Larry. Don't drop the paper on the floor, dear. Put it in the fire. There's a good boy. Come along, dear. We must be going now. Goodbye, Dr. Watson.
Goodbye.
So pleased to have met you. I do hope he hasn't been a nuisance.
Not at all. He's a dear little fella.
Mr. Holmes, till we meet again.
Soon, I hope.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Fine figure of a woman, eh, Holmes?
You think so?
Yes. She reminds me of a little nurse I used to know in Wigmore Street. Very attractive girl.
What would you say if I told you she was the Spider Woman?
I wouldn't believe you. If she was, she'd have at least 8 legs, wouldn't she? Oh, a bit of a cough.
Blasted impertinence.
What, Holmes?
Bringing that policy here, bearding me in my own den. What about that train, Watson?
I don't know.
To the place we were going. Going to see a man called Ordway about something. Oh. Watson. Breathe deeply.
What was it, Holmes?
Yes, my dear fellow. We've been entertaining Miss Adria Spedding. The most diabolically clever way of administering a lethal dose I've ever encountered.
I still don't understand.
Look here, Watson. This little confection has 2 wrappers. The inner one made of wax paper, the outer of silver paper. It was between these 2 wrappers that Miss Spedding concealed the powder that nearly cost us our lives.
I can taste those beastly fumes still. What powder?
Radix pedis diaboli. In other words, devil's foot. A very rare vegetable poison from Central Africa.
Devil? I remember that. The Cornish horror.
That's right, Watson.
I feel like a cup of tea. By George. Lucky we're still alive, eh?
For how long, I wonder? Here we are, Watson.
What do you mean, here we are, Watson? Here we are where? Miles away from anywhere.
Well, I fancy a collector of spiders might not be too welcome in a crowded neighborhood.
I think you're right, Holmes.
If only Ordway can identify the persons to whom he sold these spiders.
Who's there? What do you want?
You Matthew Ordway?
Never you mind who I am. Who are you?
My name is Sherlock Holmes. This is my friend, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, sir?
How do I know you're what you say you are? Who sent you here?
Adam Gilflower.
Why didn't you say so? I'll be right down.
He seems a bit frightened, Holmes.
Yes, I don't like the look of it, Watson.
Come in, Mr. Holmes. You're right in the line of fire. Hurry.
Line of fire?
'Twas Providence sent you, Mr. Holmes. They're after me.
Who are after you?
The men to whom you sold the Lycosa carnivora, of course.
How do you know?
Elementary, my dear sir. Who else would threaten a man of your property and standing?
Mr. Holmes, I'll swear to you, when I first sold them those spiders, I had no idea the use they'd put them to.
And you read about the pajama suicides.
That's it.
And putting 2 and 2 together, refused to sell them anymore.
That's right, but only today they were here. I was afraid for my life.
The truth now, Ordway. Did you or did you not sell them any more of these creatures?
I swear I didn't, Mr. Holmes. I've got all that's left of the shipment downstairs now. I'll show them to you. I hope you don't mind. The heat, I mean. Have to keep it this way. Tropical creatures, you know. Must be kept comfortable. Same temperature as where they come from. Humid. Very humid. Come along, gentlemen. Don't be afraid. Everything's perfectly safe. Now, here's where we keep the big fellas, you know.
Quite so.
These glass cages get all steamy. There they are. Ugly-looking brutes, aren't they?
Positively obscene.
But their poison is very valuable to doctors and the like.
So I hear.
Now, over here, we have some fine, healthy specimens of the black widow. You've heard of them?
Frequently.
Dapper little devils, aren't they?
Female of the species, eh?
They eat their mates, I'm told.
Well, what an unpleasant habit.
Odious. Tell me, Ordway, have you any specimens of the Mendex flagranti?
The what?
The Mendex flagranti.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I sold the last one we had yesterday, but I can get you one.
Wait a minute, Ordway. I think I see one on your shoulder.
Take it off! Take it off!
Steady, man, steady. Yes, a perfect specimen.
What is this?
I'll tell you. Mendex flagranti is Latin for flagrant liar. When you told me you could get me one, I knew you for what you were, a flagrant liar. Here, Watson, take care of this. You call these glass cases cages. Any scientist would call them terrariums. You said the poison of the Lycosa carnivora was valuable to doctors. Any scientist would say the virus was valuable to toxicologists. You said you were told that black widows eat their mates. Any scientist would know it. Obviously, you're not Matthew Ordway. Who are you?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Look out, Watson! Those insects are deadly. Look out, Holmes!
his eyes.
Come on. Ordway, Watson. Our job now is to find the real Matthew Ordway, if he's still alive. It's Ordway beyond a doubt.
Poor chap's been dead for some time.
Clever devils. They knew he was the one link between them and the spiders. And now that link is broken.
What have you found, Holmes?
Some sort of record Ordway kept. Looks like a journal of his travels. Dates, places, all in Central Africa. Look here. Obango, lycocarniv, poison, immune, little, doggle, faithful to.
Bungo, lycoca, immune, little dog, faithful. Sounds like a crossword puzzle. Little dog, faithful to. Whose little dog, I wonder?
The word isn't dog, Watson. It's dog with an L after it. Now, what word begins with D-O-G and has an L after it?
Doggerel. Oh, it's another G and then an E.
No, dog-like. That's it, dog-like. Now, what is it that Ordway could have had with him in the jungles of Central Africa, immune to the virus of the Lycosa carnivora, that was both dog-like and faithful?
Well, why not a little dog?
No. A dog wouldn't be immune. Never mind, we'll go into that later. Ring up the local police, have them take charge here.
Right, sure. Don't see a phone anywhere.
Try that door.
No, there's no sign of one in there. Looks as if old Ordway must have gone in for anatomy on the side.
That's curious. His main interest was invertebrates, not vertebrates. And why the chart of the skeleton of a child?
Because it isn't.
What's that?
It isn't a child.
Are you sure?
Look at all these teeth. No. The skull of a normal child of this size, 5 or 6 year old, would be much larger in proportion to the circumference of the chest.
Watson, I've got it.
Got what?
That devil of a woman. Bringing that chart at Baker Street to throw me off the track.
What track?
She knew I'd found that tiny footprint. She wanted me to think it was the footprint of a child.
I don't follow you, Holmes.
Watson, I've been blind. A mole, an owl, a bat. Look here. A bango. Lycosa carnivora. Poison, immune, little, dog-like, faithful to their masters.
What on earth are you talking about?
Able to creep through the smallest openings. The perfect instrument for the spider murders. Watson, if you ever see me getting too cocksure again, fancying myself more clever than Adria Spedding, just whisper one word to me.
What word, Holmes?
Pygmy.
It's like looking for a pygmy in a haystack.
Patience, Watson. Of all places in which we may find a pygmy, a sideshow is the most likely. Hello, I found him.
Found what? The very place is closed.
That's the most significant thing about it. In an arcade where space is so valuable. Rooms like that wouldn't remain empty a single day. Therefore, I'd say the place had been closed within the last 12 hours. And for good reason. Our friends have got the wind up. They're trying to get away.
Well, perhaps they've gone already.
I don't think so. Over here, quick. Don't look back.
Oh, what's the matter, Holmes? What's up?
Don't ask questions. Go and ring up Lestrade. Tell him to come for double. They're waiting me here in front of the shooting gallery.
Where are you going?
I don't quite know. Oh, Watson, while you're waiting, don't attract attention. Try to be as inconspicuous as possible.
Right, Holmes.
Hurry.
Hey, Yosser, try your luck on Mussolini, Hirohito, or Hitler. Hit him where their hearts ought to be, and listen to the hollow sound.
Come on. Those are coming to me first. Come on. Come on. gentlemen, step up here and see the great wonder, the gypsy fortune teller. She'll tell you, not half she won't. I say, Governor, come on over, take a chance. How about you, lady? Come on. You're afraid? I'll go on with you. The truth won't hurt you, you know. Come on, see the great wonder, ladies and gentlemen.
One of those little dolls, please.
Yes, sir. They're cute, ain't they?
Oh, very.
Thank you, sir.
Step up, ladies and gentlemen, and see Wanda, the great gypsy fortune teller. Come on, she won't half tell you something. Damn, you afraid? Come on. Who's you coming to your first? Come on.
Give me one of those dolls, please.
Yes, sir. Just a thing to take home to the kiddies, sir.
I'm sure it'll be appreciated.
Thank you, sir.
Come on, ladies and gentlemen, see the great wonder, the gypsy fortune teller. Come on, she'll give you a deco into the future. No, she won't. Come on, Governor, bring the missus in. Afraid of the truth? That won't hurt you. Come on. How about you, lady? Come on. Come on. 10 sticks, it's a 10. A 10, have you only a fortune told? Come on, she'll give you a deco into the future. No,
Your future is in your own hands, sir.
How fortunate.
This way, sir. Down that passage to the door at the far end.
Thank you.
He's on his way.
Come in, Mr. Holmes. Don't stand in the drafty corridor. I should hate to have you take cold and die of natural causes.
That would defeat the ends of injustice, wouldn't it?
You see, we've been expecting you.
Obviously. But what made you think I'd come here alone?
Your somewhat overdeveloped sense of drama, Mr. Holmes.
Oh?
Yes. If we'd permitted you to trail us here, there was always a chance you might bring along reinforcements. So I took steps to make things a little more dramatic.
Melodramatic is the word. The business of the dolls was a little overdone.
Yet it intrigued your interest and brought you here alone.
You're an exceedingly clever woman, Miss Spedding.
Elementary, my dear Mr. Holmes.
On the other hand, if I hadn't come here alone, I should never have got in, and you would have been on your way. A sensible idea under any circumstances.
On the contrary. It'd be such a bore living the rest of my life, looking back over my shoulder.
So you decided to let me catch up with you?
Precisely. One of us had to be eliminated. The choice was not too difficult.
You know, Miss Spedding, I find it hard to believe that anyone clever enough to use the Lycosa carnivora and that creature in the suitcase for the purpose of murder should be reduced to anything as conventional as a bullet, even though the use of the back room of a shooting gallery shows a certain amount of imagination.
Thank you. However, it will be nothing so trite, I assure you. The difficulty, of course, was to liquidate you without seeming to have a hand in the business.
An interesting problem. You have, of course, arrived at a solution.
Naturally. A positive inspiration, Mr. Holmes. We shall allow the British public to be your executioner. Ingenious, isn't it?
Ingenious but uninspired. If you don't mind my saying so, it lacks the personal touch.
Taylor?
Him and his meet me here and meet me there. Where is he anyhow?
I'm blessed if I know. He said wait here by the shooting gallery and look inconspicuous.
Inconspicuous? Oh.
He said inconspicuous, Lestrade, not half-witted.
Watch out there. Dr. Watson and Lestrade are out in front.
What luck! The perfect irony. The personal touch you said the whole thing lacked. Perhaps Dr. Watson will be your executioner. Turn it off, Taylor.
Hit 'em where their hearts ought to be, and hear the other side.
Well, what do you say, Doctor? Just while we're waiting.
My dear fellow, you're playing into the hands of one of the best rifle shots in England. I say the target stopped.
All right, Grandpa, keep your hair on. Just a minute mechanical problem.
My dear fellow, one can't shoot at a sitting bird, can one?
No, Doctor.
Remove that gong. You see, when this steel plate is removed, there's nothing to prevent the bullets from going straight into your heart. Do you mind, Mr. Holmes? We'll stop out front long enough to see the job is done. Radlick, don't forget the suitcase. All right, Taylor, start the machinery.
Holmes is. He's been a long time.
Well, if he said he'd be here, he'll be here. It's no good saying he won't.
Yes, I'll get Hitler the next time.
Not bad, Doctor, not bad.
I'm even better with an elephant gun. Oh, he's gone again. I'll get him this time.
Elementary, my dear Miss Spedding. I replaced the gong. Don't move, anyone. You men hear Lestrade?
All right, lad.
Sergeant, take care of that suitcase. There's valuable evidence inside it, and it's alive.
I'll take care of it, sir.
You needn't put those things on, Lestrade. She'll go quietly.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes.
I say, Holmes, where have you been all this time?
I've been going round and round in a circle.
Circle?
Yes, but my heart wasn't in it. Remarkable woman. Audacious and deadly as one of her own spiders.
Audacious? Stupid, I call it. Fancy trying to commit a murder in a place like this. All these people about.
That's where you're wrong, old boy. In an isolated place, a cry for help or a single shot might very well arouse the curiosity of at least one casual witness. But in an arcade like this, people are bent only on pleasure and will instinctively disregard any deviation from the normal that doesn't immediately concern them. Yes, Watson? Miss Spedding deserves credit for picking the most logical spot in the world to commit my murder.
Oh? Where's that?
In the middle of a crowd.
I won't forget that morning, not if I live to be 100. I counted the men as they marched out of the yard. They'd hardly slept for weeks. We of the CID had slept even less, but the nightmare that kept us awake was all the same nightmare. That's why we weren't surprised when the commissioner asked us up to the conference room for a bit of a talk. He'd talked to us plenty, we knew that. It didn't help any to know what was ahead of us.
Must we have that window open, Gregson?
Oh, shut it if you want to.
Chief will be in enough of a temper without having a ruddy blast down the back of his neck.
Gentlemen, the commissioner.
Stuffy in here. Be seated, won't you? Gentlemen, if you wish to know what able men you are, read any of the works of popular fiction that glamorize your achievements, but don't, I beg of you, read the daily papers. They might give you an inferiority complex. I hate to mention it, but we're confronted with a series of the most atrocious murders since Jack the Ripper. And in the meantime, the CID might as well be playing at shove-hate-me for all the good we've accomplished. Now look. Here, here, and here. Each of these red flags scattered through the city stands for a woman brutally murdered, a woman's terror, a woman's death agony. These are no ordinary crimes. These are the works of a fiend who kills first and mutilates afterwards. A ghoul who hacks off a part of his victim body and carries it away with him, a loathsome souvenir of his butchery. 3 women murdered so far, and you haven't turned in one clue. You haven't given me one lead. Here you sit and wait for news of a 4th victim, with your arms folded.
Well, we hadn't long to wait. It was down Lambeth Way where a young woman was hurrying home late last night. She saw something and stopped. It was a constable. He spoke to her and he walked along with her, just in case. He saw her go down the stairway to the basement lodging where she lived. We can only surmise what happened after that. My pride in my pocket and went to see the man who'd so often helped out Inspector Lestrade and myself in the past, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. If ever a man needed help, I did.
This makes 4, Inspector. 4 defenseless women here in the heart of London.
And everyone with the right forefinger hacked off.
Not hacked, Inspector Gregson. Cleanly, expertly severed. The work of a skilled surgeon. That's our only clue.
Much about the age of my sister's girl. Is there no way of stopping this, Mr. Holmes?
Yes. There's a way, somehow. The fiend that did this. I promise. I promise.
We've nothing to go on. That's the rotten part of it. We can't get far without knowing the motive.
Well, at least we know what the motives were not. It wasn't robbery, nor passion, thanks be, nor yet vengeance. Because they all came of totally unrelated families. Steady, Inspector, steady.
Sorry, Mr. Holmes. I don't turn a hair when it's a bloke that can look after himself. A little slip of a thing like that.
Yes, it's horrible. Come on, let's get a drink. evening, Mr. Holmes. Evening, Vincent. Whiskey and soda, please, and a double for my friend here, Inspector Gregson.
Very good, sir. Make mine Irish. Decent of you to give me a hand with this thing, Mr. Holmes.
Always a pleasure to be of help to Scotland Yard, Inspector.
Little out of my line, looking for a maniac who murders just for the fun of it.
Or perhaps just to get a human finger. In all 4 cases, the murderer risked capture by stopping to secure a finger. Wonder what for?
Who knows? He's just a madman.
Perhaps there's method in his madness. If we could just trace those missing fingers.
If we could just drain the English Channel, we might find a penny. Huh?
Oh, thank you. You may keep those, Mr. Holmes. Thank you.
Sir George Fenwick, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that his daughter with him? Don't be so naive, Inspector.
You know everyone, don't you, darling?
Well, hardly. A week ago, I didn't know you.
A week. How fast it's gone.
I collect these things.
How very quaint of you.
Shall we go?
Yes.
What are you looking at, Mr. Holmes?
Looking at a very handsome woman. Not drawn to the purple, but giving an excellent imitation.
Would you like to come to my flat for a nightcap?
Lovely idea.
Yes, isn't it?
Wonder where she's taking Sir George Fenwick.
Don't be so naive, Mr. Holmes.
Good evening, Mum.
Hello, Grandon. Any messages?
No, Mum.
Thank you. Drinks, Grandon. One of your nice surprises.
Yes, Mum.
I say, you don't mean that...
Grandon's a marvel, aren't you, Grandon?
Yes, Mum.
You wouldn't believe the things she can do.
Ah, charming place. Delightful.
Really? Do you think so? I'm so glad. Do sit down. Do you mind?
Do I mind? What a question. I don't mind anything, really. Except not being with you.
Now, you really don't want me to believe that, do you?
Not too seriously.
Good. We're both quite grown up, aren't we?
Quite.
You're a treasure, Grandon. And lower the lights a little as you leave. I prefer a more flattering light.
In any light, you'd be...
Would I?
And don't you know it?
Perhaps I do. Oh, that priceless woman. You wouldn't believe it, but she's absurdly romantic. She loves dreamy music, and she thinks that we...
But we do, don't we?
Do we?
Well, it's rather soothing, restful.
Yes. And we all need rest at times, like tired children who played too long. You've played with wooden soldiers, I suppose.
Funny. Hadn't thought of that for years.
Toy boats were my special joy. Anything I could set afloat anywhere. Like this. And this. Toy boats sailing into the Never Never Land. The land of beautiful dreams. Look. Look, odd, isn't it, how the light is reflected? Little specks of light that move and move, like stars on a slowly moving stream.
You know, Holmes, I'm very sensitive to atmosphere.
No?
Yes, I can tell by the feel of this room there's been a murder committed here.
It may interest you to know, my dear fellow, it was the other side of that door at the foot of the stairs that the poor girl was murdered. If only I could find it.
Find what?
The one thing these unfortunate victims have in common that might give us a motive for these murders. There must be something.
Another Jack the Ripper, if you ask me, a homicidal maniac.
No, Watson. In the case of Jack the Ripper, there was one thing in common. His victims were all from one walk of life, living in the same section of the city. In this case, the murderer chooses his victims from all walks of life and from different sections of the city. No, my dear fellow, this is not the work of a homicidal maniac. It's something infinitely more sinister.
Give me the creeps. What on earth are you talking about?
Watson, I'm convinced that these murders are only incidental to some larger and more diabolical scheme.
That may be, but why the severed fingers?
The answer to that question, my dear fellow, is our only hope of solving these mysteries.
Dear sister, I am so happy. I had such a lovely holiday at Brighton with you and Alf. And I'm looking forward to being with you again. Poor little thing. Sort of raises a lump in your throat. I can picture her sitting here happily writing this letter, and a not bit realizing that she's shortly going to her death. Hello? Gregson.
Oh, there you are, Mr. Holmes. I've been looking for you everywhere.
What's happened?
Murder in Edgware Road, not half an hour ago.
Woman?
Yes. And the right forefinger cut off clean.
Get your paper! All for murder, paper, all about the murder. Morning paper, all about the murder, paper, all for murder. Another young woman found murdered, paper, sir. All for murder, paper, paper, read all about it. Get your paper, murder in Edgware Road. Horrible finger murder. Shocking murder. Murder in Edgware Road. Horrible murder of a young woman. Read all about the murder.
Only fancy, Mum. There's been another of those horrible murders.
Dear, dear, how shocking.
Yes, Mum. I really don't feel quite safe here myself. Oh, dear. Why, Sir George!
I must see Miss Marlowe at once.
I don't know if she...
I must see her. Where is she? Lydia.
Why, Sir George, what is it? What happened?
I don't know. You'll have to help me. You've got to help me.
But I don't understand.
Listen, I woke up a few minutes ago in a cheap boarding house off Edgware Road. I don't know how I came there. I don't know when. The last thing I remember is being here with you.
Calm yourself, Sir George.
When did I leave here?
Well, it was about,
It was 10:45, Mum. Precisely.
You seemed, forgive me, just a little distressed. Detached, not interested. I thought I'd said something to offend you.
I don't remember. I can't remember.
Tell me, has this happened to you before?
Before?
Well, there is such a thing as amnesia, you know.
If it was 10:45 when I left you, it was 9 this morning when I woke. Over 10 hours lost. 10 hours that I can't account for. And in my pocket when I woke, I found... Here in my pocket. That isn't...
Oh, it's not for you, of course. It can't be.
Excuse me, Mum, but there's a man asking to see the gentleman.
Send him away.
Yes, Mum.
No, please. I'll see him.
Well? Delightful room. Not much like the place you woke up in this morning.
You followed me here?
Yes.
Are you a detective?
Oh, no. Quite the contrary. Don't be afraid, Sir George.
You know my name?
Oh, yes. A very old and highly honored name. And being the bearer of such a name, and also a very wealthy man, I thought you might care to possess yourself of this trifle. Rather than let it fall into the hands of the police. It is yours, if I'm not mistaken. The initials, GF.
Where did you get this?
It came out of your pocket. I saw it fall, but you never noticed. You were very busy, bending over something with a knife. Then you put something in your pocket.
Come along, Holmes, come along, come along. How many more times must I tell you? You're missing a treat. This is delicious. Little jam tarts to follow. Aren't you tempted?
You and your flesh pots.
They tell me that fish is good for the brain.
Brains haven't any. You realize that a whole day and a night have gone by since that bestial affair in Edgware Road? I'm as much in the dark as ever.
Hello, here comes a client, unless I'm very much mistaken.
Hello, attractive. Very attractive.
Obviously, she left home under the stress of some very great emotion.
How do you know that?
She isn't wearing any gloves. A startling omission in a young lady of fashion.
Oh, she didn't put her coat on. Open car, too.
Furthermore, there's something in that bag she wants to show me.
What makes you say that?
Bag doesn't match her dress, indicating it was picked for size rather than style, to accommodate some bulky object.
You amaze me, Holmes.
What do you mention, my dear fellow? Well, that's interesting.
What is?
A cab, turning at the empty house. I wonder why he followed her here.
Oh, wouldn't you?
Quite possibly, with glasses.
Well, we shall soon know. Yes, Mrs. Hudson?
It's a young lady, sir. Most urgent.
Ask her to come in.
Go right in, miss.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes, this is my friend, Dr. Watson.
How do you do?
How do you do? Mr. Holmes, you must excuse me, please.
Yes, well, won't you sit down?
Come along.
May I? It's quite all right. Thank you. Now try to control yourself, Miss Fenwick. You're with friends.
You know my name?
No magic, I assure you. I've often seen your picture. You're the daughter of Sir George Fenwick, aren't you?
Yes. It's about my father that I...
What about your father, Miss Fenwick?
Oh, I don't know what to do. He's always been the nicest, dearest person. Only since Mother died.
Yes, we do. We know.
So I didn't think anything of it when he was away all night before last. But he didn't come home until yesterday at tea time. Didn't come in for dinner at all. Just paced up and down in the library hour after hour. I begged him to let me in, but he wouldn't.
Steady, steady. Now take your time.
I couldn't sleep a wink last night. Then I started hearing things.
Hearing things? What sort of things?
I heard someone in the garden underneath my window. Then I saw a figure moving down the garden path. And I recognized my father. Stealing through his own garden like a thief. He had a spade in his hand, and he stopped by the greenhouse where he started to dig. This morning, at daybreak, I stole out into the garden and found this.
A finger. A human finger.
Ring up Scotland Yard, will you, Watson? Ask them to get hold of Inspector Gregson and tell him to meet us at once at George Fenwick's house, Kingston.
Operator, get me Scotland Yard quick.
Where's my father, Norris?
He's still in the library, miss.
Thank you. We'll see him right away. Will you come with me, please?
Thank you.
I got your message, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, indeed.
Dad, may I come in? Dad. It's funny. He doesn't answer.
Do you mind?
Please do.
Thank you. Watson, quick.
Oh,
Come along, my dear.
no.
Take charge, Miss Fenwick, please.
Sorry, sir. Now, miss, please. Please come along with me.
Dead?
Yes.
What do you make of it, Doctor?
Shot in the back, between the second and third ribs. The bullet undoubtedly penetrated the heart. Look at the powder marks on his coat.
I was afraid of this.
What do you mean?
Don't you remember the man in the cab who followed Miss Fenwick to Baker Street?
Well, you don't think he had anything to do with it, do you?
I think it's reasonable to assume that he tipped off someone that I'd been sent for. Sir George has obviously been murdered to keep him from telling me what he knew. What was the weapon used?
Small caliber revolver, point blank range, by the look of the wound.
The murderer came in through those French windows. The mud from the garden he brought in on his boots. Sir George must have surprised the intruder. Passed the room to him here. What follows we can't tell. But from the location of the wound, I'd say that he turned his back for a moment, and as he turned, the muzzle of the revolver was placed between his ribs and one muffled shot fired.
And you mean to say he kept on going, even after he was shot?
There's no doubt about it. Look there. The trail of blood leads us back to the desk. There's something Sir George was after. Something.
I know. He was trying to summon help, poor chap.
I don't think so, Watson. There's the bell pull by the fireplace. No, you'll notice from the trail of blood that Sir George made straight for this desk here. I wonder, there was something he was desperately anxious to get. Hello. His right hand's clenched.
That's perfectly natural. Death agony.
The left hand lies open. Why only one hand clenched in the death agony? The right hand, the hand nearest the desk. Please note that. If Sir George took something off this desk, something so important that he spilled his last drop of blood to get it, I want to know what it is.
Nothing but an ordinary match folder.
Where does that lead us?
I imagine to something very important, Gregson. This match folder's from Pembroke House.
Why shouldn't it be? He was there, you know. We saw him yesterday.
Yes, but the effort he made after he was shot to get hold of this match folder. It's just possible he wanted someone to remember Pembroke House. He may have wished to recall it to someone who saw him there. Someone who, like ourselves, saw him with a woman.
Come in.
Oh, Dr. Watson, this came by hand for Mr. Holmes not 10 minutes ago.
Thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
That would be the report from Sir George's bank.
Report from Sir George? Oh, really?
Don't you remember his daughter told us that he'd just closed his account? Had it looked into at once. He drew out his entire balance in cash, nearly £10,000, yesterday, just after that young woman was murdered. What does that suggest to you, Watson?
That he paid it out to someone.
Precisely. I smell the faint, sweet odor of blackmail.
You don't think he paid it out to someone who saw him murder the McLean woman?
Sir George never murdered anyone.
But he did have that woman's finger, and he empty did have and pay out a lot of cash.
That's the terrifying part about blackmail, Watson. The victim is afraid to fight the accusation, no matter how false. Once the accusation is made, his name is smeared, and sometimes his life is ruined.
Well, Sir George didn't commit these murders. What fiend did?
I rather think they're not the work of any one man.
Oh, come, Holmes. You don't expect me to believe there's a whole organization going about killing people and chopping off their fingers?
No, it's possible, quite possible.
Well, whoever's behind all this thing must be out of his mind.
On the contrary, my dear fellow, if my assumptions are correct, this little scheme has behind it the most brilliant and ruthless intellect the world has ever known.
You don't mean Professor Moriarty?
I do.
Oh, steady, Holmes, you've got him on the brain. This is the third time in as many months you've suspected him of unsolved crimes. He's dead, you know.
Is he?
Is he? You know he is. He was hanged in Montevideo, well, over a year ago.
I know that someone was hanged in Montevideo under that name, but I'll stake my reputation that Moriarty is alive and here, now in London. Hello? Yes, but Dr. Watson, wait a minute.
Me? Oh, yes? This is Dr. Watson speaking. No, I'm afraid I've retired. I don't practice anymore. What? Oh, that's a different thing. An emergency case. Well, just a minute. Yes? Yes, well, see, she's not moved. Remember that? Don't touch her till I get there. Fractured case in McCardle's Mews. Heavy woman. 14 stone. Look at dust. 14 stone. Just the sort of person who would hoist herself up on a stool to feed the canary. There ought to be a law against fat people keeping little dicky birds. Well, so long, old man. I shan't be very long. Haven't used that bag since I brought little Amelia. What's her name in the world? She grew up to be a very unattractive child. Oh, who wouldn't with a name like Amelia? Oh, Amelia. Amelia. People are so stupid about accidents.
Professor Moriarty. Not that I wish to appear inquisitive, but to what am I indebted for the pleasure of this visit? Scotland Yard will be interested.
It's very convenient for me to have Scotland Yard think that I'm still dead in Montevideo. I never dreamed of fooling you.
Thank you.
The thought occurs to me, Mr. Holmes, that there are some advantages in living within the law. You're very comfortably fixed here, aren't you? As I get on in life, the little comforts appeal to me more and more.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
And now, Professor Moriarty, what can I do for you?
Everything that I have to say to you has already crossed your mind.
And my answer has no doubt crossed yours.
That's final?
What do you think? I shall not rest until you are hanged for the finger murders.
You've no proof, you know.
No, not a shred. But I have you. I could turn you over to the police here and now.
You could. But if you did, you'd never see Dr. Watson again.
Oh, the telephone call.
Quite.
I rather assumed you had taken some such precaution. Or I should have snatched up a revolver and indulged in a fit of heroics when you came in.
Very smart, aren't you?
Not smart enough, or I should have anticipated you. But if any harm comes to Dr. Watson, I shall seek you out. I shall not rest until I find you, and when I do...
No harm will come to Dr. Watson this time. But I can't answer for the future. Mr. Holmes, I should strongly advise you to drop this case.
Don't be silly.
Think it over. We've had many encounters in the past. You hope to place me on the gallows. I tell you I shall never stand upon the gallows. But if you are instrumental in any way in bringing about my destruction, you will not be alive to enjoy your satisfaction.
And we shall walk together through the gates of eternity, hand in hand.
What a charming picture that would make.
Yes, wouldn't it? And I really think it might be worth it.
Shoelaces, Governor? Tuppence a pair. And strong enough to hang yourself.
How many more times must I tell you I don't want your filthy shoelaces or your company?
Shoelaces, Governor?
Blasted impertinence. Run along, my good man, or I'll give you in charge.
Shoelaces, Governor? Shoelaces, Governor? Help a poor bloke. What's only got one arm? Any luck with Mr. Holmes?
You can read his obituary in tomorrow's papers.
Oh, there you are, Watson. Come in. I was, just going out to look for you.
Look for me what for? Suppose you don't think I know my way about. Well, you're right, I don't. Blast all practical jokers anyhow. Know where I've been?
On a wild goose chase.
Exactly. There's no such number in McCardle's Muse. Some fool's idea of a joke.
Did you see anyone?
No, nobody especially. Only a whining old idiot selling bootlaces.
Persistent beggar, wasn't he? Stuck to you like grim death.
Huh? How do you know?
And finally left you for someone who looked like Vera Pickings. Someone, my dear Watson, was Professor Moriarty himself.
What?
He's just called on me.
Moriarty here and you let him go? But you must be out of your mind. Why?
Well, he bluffed me into believing that he was holding a friend of mine as hostage.
Friend of yours who?
Oh, nobody very important, just a fat, lazy fellow. Medical man, I believe.
Medical man? Do I know him?
Yes, I think you do. A fellow by the name of Watson.
Watson, never heard. Who, me?
I'm afraid so, old fellow. Your street hawker's job was to do away with you in a certain contingency.
And you let Moriarty go? Because of me?
I had no choice. We can't afford to lose you, old fellow.
Well, it's a very decent of the old chap, I must say, but... I wish you'd nabbed him.
We shall, never fear. I know the motive for the finger murders. All I have to find out now is the method used with the blackmail victims.
Method?
Yes. How does Moriarty get them to the scene of the crime? How does he plant those severed fingers on them? And how does he scare them into believing that they may have committed those atrocious murders themselves? Curious. Very curious.
Huh? Curious? What's curious?
That window in the empty house across the street. First floor front.
Huh? What's wrong with it?
It's open.
Why shouldn't it be open?
Well, it wasn't open half an hour ago. I'll stake my life on that.
Well, it's not our business. Let it stay open.
I wonder if you'd go over, old fellow, and see what's the matter.
Oh, trespassing. Against the law.
Very well, I'll go myself.
Oh, well, if you're going to put it like that, ridiculous waste of time. Going about shutting windows at this hour of the night.
Yeah, you better take this torch.
Well, take what? Dignified job for a doctor. Dr. Watson, the torchbearer. And what do you propose to do? Sit in a comfortable chair, I suppose, and read a good book?
That's a very good idea.
Yes, very good idea. While I play night watchman, you have a nice read.
Mm-hmm. Good night. Have a good time.
Have a good time? What do you mean, have a good... What on earth is for? Oh, umbrella stand. Pretty little thing to keep about the house. Must have been a pet. Rat rubber. This must be the dog. Well, he sits comfortably reading a book. He killed Holmes! He killed Sherlock!
Watson.
You? But I saw him shoot you a second ago.
Not me, my dear fellow. Merely the bust of Julius Caesar. Incidentally, you may have noticed that all through the ages, prominent men have prominent noses. Oh, I'm afraid we're in for terrible trouble again with Mrs. Hudson. Windows smashed, plaster all over the floor. Get up, you.
Corporal Williams, Middlesex Regiment. Discharged from the army as physically unfit. Papers seem in order.
Now, Corporal Williams, you've seen service in the Far East, haven't you?
The East?
I thought so. Look at his complexion, Watson. Yellow as saffron. He's been taking Atabrine. Cure for malaria. Sniper, aren't you?
Sniper?
Hmm. Why did you try to kill me?
I had to kill him. I had to.
Oh, snap out of it.
Stop it, Watson.
He's shamming.
No, he isn't. Who told you to kill me?
She told me.
She told you?
She told me I couldn't miss.
Well, luckily you did miss, you murderer.
He isn't a murderer, Watson. Listen, Corporal Williams. She told you you had to do it, didn't she?
I had to do it.
I've got it, Watson, I've got it.
Got what?
The method used in the finger murders.
Well, what is it?
Hypnotism, my dear fellow, hypnotism. And it wasn't against his nature, that's the devilish part of it. They picked a man for their purpose whose job was sniping.
Who are they?
Professor Moriarty and his finger murderers. Williams spoke of a woman. I think you'll find that she asked him home tonight for a drink. Nice quiet rooms, soft lights, music.
You got it all pat, Mr. Holmes. What's the lady look like?
Oh, up 30, nice figure, blonde, lustrous eyes.
Oh, really? Got a phone number? Oh, so?
Williams will give us her address. Look after him, Gregson. Don't let anyone come near him. He's our key witness in the finger murders.
Well, I hope you're guessing right, Mr. Holmes.
Get up, Williams. Now, go with Inspector Gregson anywhere he tells you.
Come on.
Yeah. Ring me as soon as he comes to himself, will you?
I will. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Well, if you believe that fellow Williams was hypnotized, I suppose you think Sir George Fenwick was hypnotized too.
Yes, I'm quite sure of it. Have a cup of tea?
Thanks, old boy. Nothing to eat. But why didn't these people make Sir George do the murder himself?
Because they didn't want to get him hanged. They wanted to blackmail him.
Well, who do you think the actual murderer is?
One of Moriarty's gang. A diabolically simple technique. Kill a woman.
Yes. But why cut off the fingers?
My dear fellow, don't you understand? The severed finger is what links the blackmail victim to the murder. He wakes, finds the grisly thing in his pocket. He doesn't know how it got there. He's no idea that he's been hypnotized. For all he knows, he may have committed the atrocious crime during some dreadful lapse of sanity.
In that state, when he's utterly demoralized, the blackmailers take over. Is that it?
Undoubtedly. You see, they swear that they saw him commit the murder. And being human, the victim will pay anything rather than stand trial on a charge that will make his very name loathsome.
Oh, it all fits in if you believe in hypnotism.
Yeah. The only possible explanation.
You think the hypnotist is that woman with the blonde hair, the lustrous eyes, the woman you invented?
I didn't invent her. I saw her.
What on earth are you talking about?
That woman, my dear Watson, was with Sir George when he left Pembroke House. I saw her there. I shall see her again, and Williams will lead me to her. That's why it's so important to keep him safe. He will identify her. Hello? Yes? Inspector Gregson? What? I'll get every constable in the district. Yes, I'll be over at once.
What's happened, Holmes?
Williams is missing.
Great Scott!
Come on. Lorry crashed into Gregson's car. During the confusion, Williams disappeared.
Escaped, eh?
No, kidnapped. To keep him from talking when he came to.
You don't think that Moriarty...
Moriarty? Anything is possible.
Williams!
Dead. You see? Anything is possible.
Oh, good morning, Professor Moriarty. You startled me. I'm dressing another dolly, a dear little nurse. Is there anything wrong with your finger?
Just a splinter.
Nasty thing, splinters. Most trying. One can't be too careful, but I'll get it out for you. I have the very instrument to help you. Sharp enough to split a hair.
Put those tools away until they're needed.
But they're not tools, sir. They're instruments.
Put them away. Is Lydia in?
Yes. But really, you should let me.
Get dressed. Holmes and Watson just left Baker Street for the Mesmer Club.
Mesmer Club, the meeting place of all the top hypnotists in London. Do you suppose that Mr. Holmes is onto our method?
If he suspects, it's merely a suspicion. It's our business to see that it ends there.
I hope you're right.
Williams passed away before he could talk, remember?
What do you want me to do?
Go to the Mesmer Club, meet Holmes, and induce him to come back here.
Isn't that a bit dangerous?
Every meeting with Sherlock Holmes is potentially dangerous. However, you say he didn't see your face at Pembroke House.
And how would you suggest I get Mr. Holmes to accompany me here? Kidnap him?
Oh, no. Holmes has one weakness, his insatiable curiosity. If you can arouse that, you can lead him anywhere. It's up to you to take advantage of any opportunity that may arise.
This way, please, gentlemen. I'll tell Dr. Onslow that you're here.
Thank you.
This is the Mesmer Club. If you ask me, hypnotism is a lot of mumbo-jumbo.
Oh, come now, Watson. As a medical man, you must admit that hypnotism has its place in modern science.
That may be, but 90% of hypnotists are crooks of the worst kind. Nothing more than a lot of charlatans exploiting weak-willed morons.
Ah, Dr. Onslow, I believe.
Happy to meet you, Mr. Holmes. Your brother Mycroft suggested I might be of help to you. He's a valued member of our little group of charlatans and crooks.
Oh, beg your pardon, sir. I didn't know you were listening. Behind the curtain.
My friend, Dr. Watson.
Oh, delighted.
How do you do?
I wonder now. You see, we're in the midst of a little experimental session at this very moment. If you'd care to join us.
Oh, certainly, certainly.
I'd be very instructive.
Oh, well, will you follow me?
Thank you.
Why should I know that we're behind the blasted curtain?
In treating his patients. But today, the therapeutic value of hypnotism, as we now call it, is conceded by innumerable physicians. Especially is it of value in surgical cases where the administration of local or of general anesthetic is inadvisable.
Inadvisable poppycock. Oh, sorry.
For the sake of latecomers, I may say that I have placed this subject under profound hypnosis. In this condition, he can feel no pain, even under applications which normally would be excruciating.
Excruciating?
You excuse me, please.
Carter, you are having a peaceful sleep. You feel nothing. Your arms and your hands are without sensation. Mowbray, the long needle. Carter, give me your right hand. As you observe, the needle has been thrust completely through the subject's hand. No feeling, no pain. This lack of feeling is the one infallible test of profound hypnosis.
Nonsense. Fellow's full of drugs. Oh, isn't he?
Definitely not, Doctor.
Wake up, Carter, wake up. You feel well and rested, remember. No pain anywhere. Wake up, wake up.
I say, when are you going to begin?
All through, Carter. Stand up.
This way, sir.
And, are these all the people that come here?
Oh, no. Others keep dropping in all the time.
I suppose it's all right for those who believe in it, but of course, I'm a professional man myself.
Then you don't believe in hypnotism, Dr. Watson?
I don't deny that there are certain types of hysterical, feeble-minded people who go under if you point a finger at them. But anyone with an ounce of character...
How right you are. You see right through our little artifices, don't you, Doctor?
Right through, my dear sir. Right through.
Quite so. But with the feeble-minded, as you say... excuse us, Mr. Holmes.
Certainly.
Step over here, won't you?
Certainly, sir. Anything to oblige.
Let me show you how easily we charlatans take advantage of them. Now, sit down, Doctor. Now, we set a thing like this in motion. It's wonderful, the attraction on the feeble-minded, of course. The continuous motion, if they just let themselves follow it. Of course, you could stare at it till doomsday, Dr. Watson, with no effect at all.
Still, it might make you a little drowsy, like the white ribbon of road at night when you're driving. The rhythm is smooth, unbroken, and the road goes on and on, round and round, always the same, winding and winding. And you're drowsy, you're tired. Let the road come into you, as it were. The long road, the smooth road, the road to sleep. Sleep. Open your eyes. Stand up. Turn around. And now, Dr. Watson, you're on a holiday in Scotland. The country is amazingly beautiful. We're coming to a stream. It isn't deep. Better take your shoes and socks off. Roll up your trouser. That will do. The other leg is waterproof. Turn around. Mind the pedals. Sit down. Wake up now.
Yeah, I see. What did I tell you? It didn't work with me. Why, nobody with an ounce of character.
I think you'll need these.
Nothing to laugh at.
Watson, she's here.
Oh, the woman you're looking for?
Yes, I'm going to meet her. Perhaps I can induce her to take me to Moriarty.
Do you think it's wise, Holmes?
May not be wise, but it's essential. After all, I've held me on with Moriarty in the past.
But isn't it dangerous? She might be a hypnotist.
My will isn't stronger than hers. I deserve to be hypnotized. Shh.
I feel I must protest, Dr. Onslow. I was told this was a gathering of serious students of a great science, and I find myself in a company of buffoons.
Oh, my dear madam.
Elliot's and Esdale, Braid. Were those men martyrs for the truth, that you may laugh over your childish, cruel tricks?
I must say I'm in complete agreement with you, madam. This was most unnecessary performance, Dr. Onslow.
Beg your pardon, sir.
My name is Holmes, Sherlock Holmes. At your service, madam.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. I'm afraid I've created a rather embarrassing situation. But you see, I'm interested in the serious study of hypnotism.
So am I, too.
Perhaps we have something in common, Mr. Holmes.
Perhaps we have. Would you join me for a cocktail at Pembroke House?
I should be delighted.
Good. Thank you.
I didn't know there was such a pleasant place in London. It was so nice of you to suggest our coming here.
I thought a little pick-me-up would do us good.
You mean you thought I looked...
I like the way you look.
Thank you. I suppose I did lose my head a little at the Mesmer Club. But you see, hypnotism is almost a religion with me. I know so well what it can do to help, heal. And I can't bear to see it used for trivial purposes.
I know very little about it. That's why I went to the Mesmer Club. You see, I'm rather puzzled just now with the case that I'm working on.
How fascinating. Tell me about it.
It's the murder of Sir George Fenwick.
Fenwick? Who's he?
Quite a well-known figure. Odd now I come to think of it. Last time I saw Sir George was here at Pembroke House.
Strange.
Yes, isn't it? He was sitting, I believe he was sitting at this very table. Cigarette?
Thanks. Do go on.
There was a charming lady with him. He was lighting a cigarette.
Charming. Did you see her face?
No, worse luck. Merely her back.
How unenterprising of you.
Yes, wasn't it? Afraid I'm getting a little older.
I shouldn't say so.
That's nice of you. Still, the first time in my life, I've got hold of a case that's beyond me. I'm actually losing sleep over it.
You know, Mr. Holmes, I believe I could help you.
Really? I should be very grateful.
You're amused.
Oh, nearly skeptical. How would you go about it?
I've used hypnotism more than once in healing. Not for profit. I'm not a professional. But I do think I could help you. If you'd care to...
I can't think of a pleasanter experience. Low lights, music, is that all there is to it?
You must relax, Mr. Holmes. I'm afraid you're a rather difficult subject. So I thought perhaps a little help. Materia medica might be advisable.
Drugs? No, I'd rather not, if you don't mind.
As a matter of fact, I'd rather not myself. But Schrenk-Notzing, he practiced in Munich, you know. Believed it the best means for difficult subjects. Do you mind?
Well, as a matter of fact, I don't approve of sedatives.
Just as you wish. We don't have to go on with this at all, you know.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. All right. I'll take a chance.
It's really quite harmless.
What is it?
Cannabis japonica, an oriental soporific. You need water.
Thank you.
Now sit down, Mr. Holmes. You'll feel yourself growing drowsy. Don't fight it. Give in to it. Because you do want to sleep, you know. Just fix your eyes on this one white flower, floating on the water. Empty your mind of every other thought. Follow the motion of the water. So smooth, not a ripple. Waters of forgetfulness. Steady. Deep. Strong. Strange, isn't it? How the light is reflected. Little specks of light that move and move. It's restful here. It's peaceful. It's friendly. And you're very close to finding what you're looking for. You'll find them soon now. The guilty ones. When you're rested, gentle waters closing over you. Steady, deep, strong, drawing you down, down, down. Sleep. 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 Here he is, Professor Moriarty. Stand up, Mr. Holmes. Open your eyes. Face this way. Are you satisfied?
We are dealing with a clever man. He may be shamming. There's just one infallible test for profound hypnosis. You ready, Dr. Simnel? That will do, Doctor. He couldn't fake insensibility to the knife. I congratulate you, Lydia. Turn round, Mr. Holmes. Now walk to the desk. Sit down. Take that pen and write what I tell you to write. I have at last found a case which I cannot solve. I have outlived my usefulness. Therefore, I have decided to end my life. Sign your name. Now blot it. Fold it up and put it in your pocket. Come, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Go out onto the terrace.
But it won't look like suicide, sir.
I'm sorry, but Mr. Holmes' injuries must all be self-inflicted. Let's walk a little, Mr. Holmes. It's so pleasant here in the garden. Just step up here onto the terrace. It's a nice, broad terrace. Now turn to the left and walk slowly to the end of the terrace. Don't stop. You must walk to the end, you know. The end leads to an open doorway. You can pass through it in perfect safety. In the room beyond the doorway, you'll find what you've been looking for.
Must you drag this on?
This is the moment I've been anticipating for a long time, my dear. Go on, Mr. Holmes. Through the open doorway, you will find the man responsible for the finger murders and the death of Sir George Fenwick. Professor Moriarty.
Holmes! Stand still.
What a beautiful view, Watson. I'm quite enjoying it.
No, you're not. You're hypnotized. You're under a spell. Stand still. Don't move. Steady, Holmes. Steady does it. Stand perfectly still where you are.
Nonsense, Watson.
You don't know what you're doing.
Of course I know what I'm doing.
You mean you're not hypnotized?
Certainly not.
Then get off the wall, you idiot. Oh, look out! Holmes! Oh,
Dear fellow.
What were you doing up there?
Holding the fort until you arrived. What kept you?
Well, I ran into a spot of trouble on my way to Scotland Yard. I was arrested for exceeding the speed limit.
Your luck seems to hold, Mr. Holmes. Well, I'd hardly call it luck, Professor. You see, I substituted a drug of my own for the one that this dear lady pressed on me.
You are clever, aren't you?
A drug that, although it leaves the subject conscious, renders him quite insensitive to pain. That accounted for my lack of reaction to Dr. Simnel's knife. Well, Gregson, quite an impressive haul. Even Inspector Lestrade himself couldn't have done any better.
Thanks, Mr. Holmes.
Take him away.
All right, put her in the van.
I was right, Mr. Holmes. You are a difficult subject.
Thank you. And now, Professor, our score is settled. Au revoir until I see you on the gallows. The rope has not been made that'll go around my neck.
Come on. I'll take care of things, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Inspector.
Come on.
An evil man, Holmes, but what a horrible death.
Better than he deserved.
What are you thinking of?
I'm thinking of all the women who can come and go in safety in the streets of London tonight. Stars keep watch in the heavens. And in our own little way, we too, old friend, are privileged to watch over our city.
Dartmoor Prison, isolated from the outside world by walls of granite.
They say you could get out of here by merely telling what you know.
You may or may not be another Scotland Yard bloke, but I'll give you the same answer I gave the others. I still have 2 years, 8 months, and 6 days left in which to make musical boxes. That'll be sold at auction for the benefit of this delightful sanctuary. And I intend to sell them.
Move along.
And now we come to the next object on our list, or I should say objects, because there are 3 of them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these can be bought together or separately. Now, these beautiful little musical boxes only arrived this morning, and I didn't intend to put them on the auction block until later, but I'm going to sell them now. So, good friends, as our old pal Mark Antony used to say, lend me your ears. And what do you hear? Right. The beautiful tinkle tinkle of a musical box. What a lovely trinket. What a beautiful gift. Created and made by loving hands. A thing of beauty and utility. I was going to start with £5. It's a bargain, £5. Do I see any hands? If there's a connoisseur in the house, will go £3 for it. £2. £1. 10 shillings. Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, 10 shillings is offered for a musical box you couldn't buy anywhere in London for less than £5. It'd be stealing to let it go for 10 shillings. Like taking milk from a baby.
All right, we're selling for 10 shillings.
10 shillings, 10 shillings is offered, 10 shillings is offered, 10 shillings is offered. And anybody give me £1? Want to give me £1?
Oh, won't someone want to give me £1? A pound, £1 is offered, £1 is offered, ladies and gentlemen, £1 is offered. It's against you, sir. Will you go to £2? Will you go to £2, sir?
£2. £2 is offered. £2 is offered. Going once.
Twice. Third and the last call.
Sold to the gentleman for £2.
Sorry, my dear.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, comes the opportunity to purchase An exact duplicate of the beautiful little musical box just bought by this gentleman for the ridiculous low price of £2. Oh, it's exactly the same. Exactly the same. Made with the same hands. You hear that? Isn't that lovely? That tinkle, 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 tinkle. Sounds like Bow Bells to me, you know, with little angels pulling on the ropes, eh? Who'll give me £2 for it? Who'll start me with £2? Will anybody start me with £2? Oh, come, ladies and gentlemen. You know, from your enthusiasm, we might all be in Scotland instead of London.
Please buy it for me, Daddy.
£2, certainly not. We all might be in Scotland. Besides, I don't like his manner.
£1, 10 shillings. £1. £1 is ours. £1, £1 is offered. £1 is offered, going £1. Any advance? Going once, going twice. The third and the last call. Sold to the lady for £1.
Smart bidding, my dear.
Thank you.
We come to the third and last of these beautiful little musical boxes. Exactly the same. Tinkle, tinkle. Isn't that lovely? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't bring you here to gull you and swindle you. This is the exact replica of those two I just sold before.
We're closed.
But this is extremely important.
Come in, sir, come in.
I'm sorry to disturb you, but I was unfortunately delayed from arriving in time to bid on certain articles which I was rather anxious to obtain.
Oh, perhaps they weren't sold, sir. We are carrying several things over. What might the articles be, sir?
3 identical musical boxes, about so large.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, but they were sold. Pity you weren't here to bid on them. They didn't bring anything like the real value.
I'm most anxious to obtain them. I wonder if your records would show who the purchasers were.
Oh, we don't usually give out that information, sir.
For certain, shall we say, sentimental reasons, I'm most anxious to get in touch with the purchasers. I'd be willing to pay, shall we say, £5.
Well, for certain sentimental reasons, sir, we'd be very happy to oblige. Alfred, today's sales. The 3 musical boxes.
Musical boxes, oh. Ah, here we are.
The first purchase for £2 from Mr. Julian Emery, 52 Portman Square. Write this address down, Alfred.
Yes, sir.
Second didn't leave any name.
Oh, how unfortunate.
I think she's a dealer. You see, they don't like us to know where the things are going.
On account of the profits.
You say the second purchaser was a woman. Can you give me a description of her?
Oh, she was a young woman, fairly tall, slender, had a light complexion and dark hair, and she was wearing
a grey suit, don't you remember? That's right. She probably runs a gift shop. She paid £1.
You say she comes here fairly frequently?
No, I didn't say so. But she does, sir. Like as not, she'll come in on Thursday. We have sales on Mondays and Thursdays.
Ah. And the third box?
The third? Oh, Mr. William Kilgore, 143B Hampton Way.
For 10 shillings.
Quite a drop from £2.
Mr. Kilgore was a Scotchman.
Oh. Thank you. You've been most helpful.
Oh, thank you, sir. And any time you're passing, dropping, we always have lovely things for sale. Our card, sir?
Thank you. I'll be back Thursday. The message reached us too late. Musical boxes are being sold. Well, let's get out of here.
Someday you'll go too far.
Reaching for a star, you fool.
Yet a fool may touch a star, Colonel Cavanaugh, if he but reach high enough.
But not possess it as you would.
The musical boxes, they're being sold. What a pity for you, my dear Colonel.
Is it my fault that the message reached us only an hour ago? Is it my fault that they were sold? You can't hold me responsible for that.
Hope for your sake you're right.
upon you tonight at 7:45. A gentleman who desires to consult you upon a matter of the very deepest moment. Remember that letter, Holmes? It was written over 2 years ago. An interesting case. Devilishly interesting. Irene Adler. What a striking-looking woman from the brief glance I had of her. Seems only yesterday. What charm. What poise. And what a mind. Sharp enough and brilliant enough to outwit the great Sherlock Holmes himself.
I take it the new issue of the Strand magazine is out, containing another of your slightly lurid tales.
It is indeed.
And what do you call this one?
I call it A Scandal in Bohemia. Not a bad title, eh?
If you must record my exploits, I do wish you'd put less emphasis on the melodramatic and more on the intellectual issues involved.
More on the what do you mean by that?
Well, I do hope you've given the woman a soul. She had one, you know.
By the woman, I suppose you mean Irene Adler.
Yes. I shall always remember her as the woman.
Come in. I Stinky.
That's him, old boy. How are you?
How are you, old boy? I haven't seen you for years. I want you to meet my old friend Sherlock Holmes. Holmes, this is Stinky. In other words, Julian Emery.
How do you do, Mr. Emery? Watson has often spoken of you.
Oh, has he? Yes, we were at school together.
Yes, more years ago than I care to remember, but you didn't come in here just to remind me of that.
No, I just happened to be in the neighborhood and saw your lights burning, so I took the liberty of looking you up. Still writing your mystery stuff?
Yes, there's a new one out this week.
Good, I never miss them.
Oh, good, thanks. I say that bandage makes you look very interesting. Still poking your nose into other people's business as usual? Who hit you?
I haven't the foggiest notion. Somebody knocked me on the head in my own living room and then proceeded to commit the most idiotic burglary you ever heard of. Fellow must have been balmy as a coot.
Balmy? Why? Come sit down, old boy. Would you like a cup of tea?
Oh? Oh, all right.
I'll go and tell Mrs. Hudson about it.
Yeah.
Why do you say the robbery was idiotic, Mr. Emery?
Oh, simply from the fact that with about £5,000 worth of musical boxes in my living room, the thief, who I caught in the act, made off with one that isn't even worth £5.
I gather you're a collector of musical boxes.
Yes, I am indeed. Some of them are very beautiful, but not the one that was stolen. The thief evidently grabbed the first thing that came to his hand when he heard me coming into the room.
Still, it's rather odd, isn't it, that having disposed of you, he didn't pick up something more valuable. Was there anything unusual about the stolen box?
No, nothing at all. No, I picked it up in the south of France, several years ago.
You say you have many valuable music boxes, and yet the thief made off with one that isn't worth £5. Sounds like rather an intriguing little problem.
Yes, well, I take it that he was just an ordinary petty thief and didn't know the value.
That is a possible explanation, and yet I venture to say that the average petty thief has a more extensive knowledge of the value of objets d'art than the average collector.
Well, anyway, that's Scotland Yard's theory. They didn't get very excited about it.
That's consistent anyway. I wonder if I might see your collection, Mr. Emery.
Oh, of course you could, yes. Nothing a collector likes more than showing off his trophies. When would it suit you?
No time like the present.
Good. My place is just round in Portman Square. Shall we? Yes, right.
Hello? Where are you going? Stinky hasn't had his tea yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're going round to my place, where I'm going to give you something better than tea. Now, this one was made for Louis XV, and is one of the very few still in existence from that period. And a particularly fine specimen at that. Charming, isn't it?
Quite.
They all sound to me like a lot of mice running about on a tin roof.
I'm afraid you have no ear for music, Watson.
Give me a good old band playing a rousing march. You have all your silly little tweets. Another room. It's just me. Stupid thing. Singing rabbit.
What would you say offhand is the value of a box like that, Mr. Emery?
Well, it's hard to say offhand, but I think we'll bring about £500 or £600 today. It's the gem of my collection.
Yet a thief who steals an oddity like a musical box passes up one worth £500 for one of almost no value at all. Odd. Very odd. What was the stolen box like, Mr. Emery?
Oh, just a plain wooden box about so big. As a matter of fact, I have one over here almost exactly like it. I picked this up yesterday at an auction room in Knightsbridge. Paid only £2 for it. Of course, I wouldn't in the ordinary way add one like this to my collection, but the tune intrigued me. I'd never heard it before. You have a remarkable ear for music, Holmes.
Rather an unusual melody.
Sit down, Will.
Thanks. You say you bought that box at an auction sale yesterday?
Yes, the Gaylord auction rooms in Knightsbridge. Run by old, what's his name?
Crabtree.
Handsome man.
At what time was the robbery committed?
Oh, about 3 o'clock this morning.
You know, Mr. Emery, that box and the robbery might well be cause and effect, especially since you say that the stolen box outwardly resembles this one a great deal. And Scotland Yard were not particularly interested, eh?
Oh, yes, but I wouldn't blame him for that, especially as I told him I was quite unable to describe the thief, except, of course, for the fact that it was definitely a man.
All you remember is that you came in here and someone struck you on the head.
Yes, and the next thing I knew, my man was trying to revive me.
It might be wise for you to put that box away somewhere and lock it up.
Oh, I don't think that's necessary. Besides, everything's insured.
Well, at least if any further attempts at robbery are made, I'd suggest that you call the police, rather than running into any personal danger.
Oh, come, Holmes, aren't you being a bit of an alarmist?
Possibly.
Well, Master Gray, with old Stinky, seems to me you are making rather a mountain out of a molehill.
Molehill is the word, old boy, and it's time you were in bed. Thanks so much for letting us see your place.
All the best. It's been glad meeting you.
Holmes, I can't understand why you were so mysterious. Seems to me the petty thief explanation was the only sensible one.
Really?
Yes, I can't see how you can believe it was anything else.
I didn't say I believed it to be anything else. The petty thief theory is the obvious one, I grant you. However, it's often a mistake to accept something as true merely because it's obvious. The truth is only arrived at by the painstaking process of eliminating the untrue. We are not able to do that in this case without further data.
Rubbish, you're pulling my leg. You're trying to turn a tuppenny halfpenny robbery into an international plot.
No, I'm not. I just hope that your friend Stinky is a little more cautious in the future, just in case.
Yeah? Yeah? Julian Emery here. Who? Why, of course I remember you, Mrs. Courtney. Yes, you're the one bright spot at that appallingly dull affair of Lady Sanford's. Huh? Of course it isn't too late to come round. Yes, I shall be delighted to give you a drink. I tell you what, come straight up and I'll leave the door unlatched. Right, well, 15 minutes? Good. I shall be counting each moment. No, I mean that, really. Right, goodbye.
Boo!
Oh, you startled me.
Did I?
Yes.
Must be the pixie in me.
I know I shouldn't have called you so late, but I was at a party just around the corner, and I remembered your invitation to see your collection of musical boxes.
My dear Mrs. Courtney, pleasure is all the greater for being so unexpected.
My friends call me Hilda.
Thanks. Mine called me Stinky.
Stinky, how quaint. Oh, what a perfectly wonderful collection of musical boxes. You know, when you told me you had a collection, I had no idea it was so attractive.
Yes. They appeal to the ear as well as to the eye.
Oh, what a plain little one. Why, it looks just like a country cousin amid all this grandeur.
No. You mustn't underestimate the country cousin. Only last night a burglar broke in here, and with all these to choose from, went off with one very much like it.
Really?
Yes, I don't mind the loss of the box so much, but I do resent this crack on the skull.
But it makes you look so interesting.
Oh, do you think so?
Uh-huh.
It's funny, that's what old Fatso said.
Fatso?
I mean, Dr. Watson. He was here this evening with a friend, Mr. Holmes. He's interested in my collection, too.
Sherlock Holmes?
Yes. Do you know him?
I've heard of him.
Yes, he seems to think I'm in some sort of danger.
What a haunting tune. It takes me right back to my childhood.
Really? Do you know, it's odd that you should be interested in that particular musical box.
Odd? Why?
Because Mr. Holmes is also interested in it.
He may have been more interested in the tune than in the box.
My dear, yes, that's right. I remember now. He whistled it note for note, having heard it only once.
Really? He must be a remarkable man.
Bit of an alarmist, if you ask me.
Don't you believe in warnings?
Of course not. Who'd want a box like that?
I would.
You're not serious.
Oh, but I am.
Well, you put me in a very awkward position. I'm a collector, you know. And the collector buys but never sells.
But if the price were high enough...
The price has nothing to do with it. It's the principle of the thing. Yes, well, we haven't had our drink.
No, thanks. I must be getting along.
Must you really?
I'm afraid so.
You're not walking out on me, are you?
My reputation. Stinky.
I say, you know, you are an attractive woman.
Thanks. You fool. I told you to wait outside. What did you have to kill him for? All I had to do was walk out with this.
He held you in his arms.
Don't touch him. Don't touch anything. Now get out.
I'm sorry.
You're sorry. What about me? This is murder. What about Scotland Yard? What about Sherlock Holmes? Now get out!
Did you get it? Good. Did you have any trouble with him?
Just a matter of murder.
Ah, Mr. Holmes.
Hopkins.
Thanks for coming so promptly. Inspector Lestrade suggested that I call through to you.
Mr. Emery was the client of Mr. Holmes, Inspector.
Indeed. You didn't mention that when I telephoned you, Mr. Holmes.
Well, not exactly a client, Inspector. Sergeant Thompson?
He was killed between the hours of 11 and 2 o'clock this morning, Mr. Holmes.
Must have been someone he knew, someone of whom he had no suspicion.
Poor old Stinky. It's all my fault. I should have prevented this.
Well, it's no time to start talking about that now, Doctor.
Apparently it's gone. That's the second attempt on the musical box that Emery bought at the auction sale. And this time it was successful.
But that box was only worth £2.
It was worth a man's life, Watson. I think we'd better pay a visit to Gaylord's auction room and that fellow Crabtree. Inspector, may I suggest that you make a complete search of this flat for a small, plain, musical box about that size? Thank you. Come on, Watson. You say the first box went to Mr. Julian Emery. The second to Mr. Kilgore, 143B Hampton Way. And the third to the unidentified young lady who presumably has a shop and lives near Golders Green.
That's right, Mr. Holmes.
Isn't it rather strange, Mr. Crabtree, that you should have had 3 identical musical boxes all playing the same tune? Where'd they come from?
Dartmoor Prison.
Dartmoor?
Yeah, we get a regular shipment from there every month. The inmates manufacture them. Well, they make all kinds of things, you know, pipe racks, waste paper baskets, musical boxes.
Did you happen to notice if anyone showed any particular interest during the auction in the purchasers of these 3 boxes? Oh, come now, Mr. Crabtree. This is very literally a matter of life and death.
Well, since you put it that way, Mr. Holmes, there was a gentleman came in here about an hour after closing time, and he was in an awful state, he was. He gave me £5 to tell him where the boxes had gone to. He said they had a sentimental value for him, sir.
Expensive sentiment.
Can you describe him?
He was tall, distinguished looking, and he had grey hair and a moustache. Oh, he was quite a gentleman, sir.
What was his reaction when you were unable to supply him with the address of the young lady who owned the shop?
I told him the young lady usually come back on Thursday. He said he'd come back on Thursday. Now, that's tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Crabtree. You've been very helpful. Thank you. Come along, Watson.
Where are we going now, Holmes?
To the home of Mr. Kilgore, the man who bought the third box.
But hang it all, Holmes, how do you know those other two musical boxes are of any importance?
I don't, but I certainly have no intention of waiting until the owners are murdered to find out.
No one at home.
I hope that's the explanation.
I'll have a look through this window. Doesn't seem to be anyone there. The whole place seems deserted as far as I can see.
Yes.
Mr. and Mrs. Kilgore at home?
No.
When do you expect them?
Oh, in an hour or so. But there's no use your hanging about. They don't buy nothing from peddlers.
Peddlers? My good woman, this is Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes? Oh, go on.
Do you mind if we come in and wait? My business is rather urgent.
Well, I've got to go out and do my shopping. And I don't know as Mrs. Kilgore like any strangers nosing about.
Quite all right, I assure you.
Well, I've got to be off. You two wait in the parlor. And no smoking either. Mrs. Kilgore says it smells up the house.
Funny old girl, Holmes.
Park Lane.
Park Lane? And what would the likes of you be doing in Park Lane?
Now, don't worry about the fare, Ducky. If you knows how to get to Park Lane, up it.
You know, Holmes, I've been thinking. There must have been something hidden in that box of old stinkers. Stolen jewelry, possibly. What's up, Holmes?
Listen.
What's just the steam in the water pipes? Watson! Great Scott! Come on, Holmes. Get on the chair here.
It's all right, my dear. There. Now, don't worry. It's all over.
There you are, dear. Don't cry anymore.
She tied me up and shut me in the cupboard.
I know. She won't come back. Did you show her your new musical box?
Yes, she said she wanted to hear it play. And as soon as I showed it to her, she grabbed hold of me.
I know. Now, don't worry. We'll buy you a new musical box.
Yes, my dear, the best one in London.
Watson. Oh, what a fool I've been.
What do you mean, Holmes?
She took the musical box out of this house in that market basket. Right under our very noses.
Why could the Kilgore charwoman want to take the music box?
She isn't the Kilgore charwoman. She's a consummate actress. An extremely clever, unscrupulous woman who will stop at nothing. Take care of the child, will you, Wallfellow, till our parents get back. Explain everything to them.
Of course I will. But, Holmes, where are you going?
Somewhere, somehow. I must get to the young lady who bought that third musical box before our opponents find out. I only hope that I won't be too late.
Oh, no. No, darling, you mustn't cry anymore. Now, cheer up. Would you like to hear old Uncle make a noise like a duck? Oh, sorry.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, how much am I offered for this beautiful lace Dresden china figurine? A lady of the French court. Now, this is the genuine article. What a beautiful ornament for your mantelpiece. Or you could use it as a centerpiece on the dining room table. Now, will somebody start me for £10? Will somebody start me for £10? £8? £7? All right, £5 is offered, £5 is offered, £5 is offered, £5, 10, £5, 15, £5, 15. £6 is offered, £6, £6. Going once, going twice. The third and the last call. Have you all done? Sold to the lady from Twickenham for £6. Next, we have a real museum piece, ladies and gentlemen. A fine 19th century doll. The costume an exact replica of the holiday clothes worn by the Hungarian peasant women. Now, ladies and gentlemen, an article like this would cost you from £15 to £20 in a West End shop. I'm not going to ask you for anything like that. Who'll give me £2 for it? £2. Anybody offer me £2? £2 for the Hungarian? £2? £1. What? Anybody give me £1? Anybody offer me £1 for the doll? £1 is offered, ladies and gentlemen. £1 is offered. Now, I'm not going to waste your valuable time or mine in trying to get 1/2 of what this beautiful doll is worth. If the young lady can steal it for £1, that's her good fortune. So it's going once, it's going twice, the third and last call. Any more? Sold to the young lady for £1. And now, ladies and gentlemen, may I draw your attention to something which may be a great surprise to you, worthy of any collection. The only other one like it is in the British Museum. It's a Ming vase of the 7th dynasty. This vase lay in a large collection somewhere outside Rome for over 2 centuries, I understand. It was discovered there by the noted antiquarian Sir Andrew Coppleston. Now, some of you may remember Sir Andrew Coppleston. Besides being a noted traveller and antiquarian, he's also a gentleman rider.
The girl with the parcel in her hands, that's her.
Are you sure that's the girl?
Well, she fits perfectly the auctioneer's description.
Follow her, Hamid.
It's lovely, dear.
And only £1. We can get at least 3 for it.
Easily. I'll go make some tea.
I could do with a cup.
Right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm looking for a birthday gift for a 7-year-old girl. What would you suggest?
We have some lovely dolls. Now, this Hungarian
I think
peasant-
she has enough dolls already.
Books are always welcome.
Well, I'm looking for something a little different.
Well, that's rather cute. What is it?
Oh, that's a musical box. Children always love them. And this is an exceptionally nice one. It plays many tunes.
Have you any others?
Yes. If you'll just step this way. I have only 2 left.
How nice. Are you sure this is all you have?
I'm sorry. They're rather hard to find, you know. That's our entire allotment. I did have one other, but I sold it earlier this afternoon. But it was only a plain wooden one. It wouldn't have been a very nice gift for a child.
Really? Do you happen to know who the purchaser was?
Why, yes. He left his card, just in case anyone should inquire for him.
How interesting. I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'll have to look a bit further. Thank you anyway.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Heavy! Follow that cab.
Here now, what?
Scotland Yard.
Hop in.
Sherlock Holmes. I might have known.
We thought we were the hunters, instead of which we're the hunted.
We've been fools. We played right into his hands. Of course. He's had us followed. Don't look. The man in front of the toy shop. Hamid, turn sharp right at the next corner and again at the next.
No photograph of her, Commissioner, as I expected. She's not a known criminal.
But how do you expect to know if you do find her? After all, she was disguised as a charwoman.
Don't worry, old fellow. If I ever see her again, I'll recognize her.
Well, it won't be long till we know who they are and from where they operate. Who's covering them?
Sergeant Thompson's following them, sir. They won't get away from him. He's a good man.
We could have arrested them at Clifford's toy shop if we had any proof.
But we know that they killed Emra.
Proof, my dear fellow. We must have proof.
We have X-rayed it, sir. There's nothing whatever concealed in the box.
We'll have a look at the plates.
There must be some clue. And it's probably so obvious that we've all overlooked it.
Seems to me we're up against a bunch of lunatics.
Not lunatics, my dear fellow. Extremely astute, cold-blooded murderers.
What can these little musical boxes have in them that's so important? Don't forget they were made in Dartmoor prison. You can smuggle stuff into prison, but not out.
Do you want us to break the box apart, sir, to see if there's anything the X-ray hasn't caught?
No, not yet.
Do you mind if I take it?
Certainly.
Thanks.
The governor of Dartmoor Prison informed us, sir, in answer to Mr. Holmes' question, that all 3 musical boxes were made by the same convict, John Davidson, serving a 7-year term, sir.
Davidson?
The Bank of England plates.
That'll be all.
Yes, sir.
Now we're getting somewhere. Wait a minute. How did you know about the plates, Mr. Holmes?
I'm a student of crime, Inspector. I make it my business to know about such things. And when the name of Davidson was mentioned...
Well, who is this fellow Davidson?
As long as Mr. Holmes seems to know all about it already, I suppose there's no harm in telling you. 2 years ago in London, there occurred a robbery of such tremendous importance, although the stolen articles themselves have no intrinsic value whatsoever, that the Home Secretary was instrumental in seeing that not a word of it appeared in any newspaper.
But you never told me anything about this, Holmes.
You were away at the time.
Articles of no intrinsic value and yet of such importance? I don't understand.
Davidson was apprehended within 15 minutes of committing the theft. But by that time, he'd hidden the articles in question and they've yet to be found.
Before going further, Dr. Watson, I must inform you that this matter's not to be mentioned outside of this room.
Of course not. Do I look like a man who'd gossip?
Let's not go into that now, old fellow, shall we? Davidson had been employed for years in a position of extreme trust by the engravings department of the Bank of England. The articles he stole were nothing less than a complete duplicate set of plates for printing £5 notes.
What? The Bank of England's own plates?
Precisely. And with those plates, a gang of crooks could flood England with £5 notes, not forged in the usual sense of the word, but notes undetectable from genuine Bank of England notes in any way whatsoever.
Good heavens.
Any whisper at all might have resulted in enormous damage in shaking public confidence in the Treasury.
We tried everything after we arrested Davidson. Offered him a shorter sentence if he'd tell us where he'd hidden the plates. Why, we even put in Scotland Yard men with him as cellmates, but no results.
Obviously, Davidson is a man of strong character and infinite patience. Yet suddenly he feels impelled to smuggle out the secret of the hiding place of the plates to his confederates. Why?
I don't understand, Mr. Holmes.
Well, for example, has the Bank of England made any plans to radically change the design of the £5 note so that in, say, 7 years from now, notes made from the stolen plates would be worthless?
Confidentially, Mr. Holmes, such a move was discussed. But replacing all the £5 notes in circulation would be such a Herculean task that nothing's been done about it as yet.
I see. Of course, there is another possible explanation. Davidson didn't have much time to find a hiding place before he was captured. He may be afraid that the plates will be accidentally discovered before he's released. Hence his anxiety to communicate their whereabouts to his confederates as soon as possible.
I believe you've hit it, Mr. Holmes.
I'm sure that the message is contained in this musical box. Or rather, in all 3 musical boxes, since possession of all 3 seems to be essential. Our opponents have 2/3 of the puzzle, we have 1/3.
Well, what are you going to do, Holmes?
Try to deduce the message from the 1/3 that we have.
It's the same tune as the one played by Emery's musical box. And yet it's different.
Sounds the same to me.
The tune. Somehow the tune is the key to the mystery. It must be the tune. Otherwise, why use 3 musical boxes to convey the message? Why not collar boxes or shoe boxes?
Yes? Oh. It's for you, Inspector.
Oh, thank you, sir. Inspector Hopkins speaking. What? Where? Golders Green Station reports they've just found Sergeant Thompson's body. From the tire marks on his clothes, he was apparently run over by a taxi.
What an unfortunate accident.
Not an accident, my dear fellow. I'm afraid it's murder.
You never know just who you're going to meet when you're walking down a busy London street. Mrs. Hawkins, Mrs. Brown, any subject of the crowd. Oh, you never know just who you're going to meet. So you better hold your topper in your hand, just in case you meet a lady on the Strand. Girls will think you're kind of sweet, and your day will be complete. Oh, you never know just who you're going to meet. Now, a gentleman is judged by his appearance. Yes, a gentleman is judged by how he talks. Now, he's much better off when he's acting like a toff, especially if he's taking him a walk.
What on earth is this outlandish place?
A rendezvous for actors.
Actors?
Buskers, old boy. You've seen them 1,000 times. Actors who entertain the queues, waiting outside theaters.
Who you're going to meet when you're walking down a busy London street. So you better wear your best, how it pays to look your best, 'cause you never know just who you're going to meet. So you better keep your manners right in view, just in case a lady gives a how'd you do. Keep your trousers in a pleat, shine your shoes and keep them neat, 'cause you never know just who you're going to meet.
Blimey. Mr. Holmes.
How are you, Joe?
Never met him. And yourself?
Fine, thank you. I want you to meet a friend of mine, Dr. Watson, Joe Sisto.
Oh, well, any friend of Mr. Holmes is a friend of mine.
Hi, Joe.
He did me a good turn once that I'll never forget.
Yes, I cleared Joe of a most unpleasant charge.
Murder, no less.
Oh, really? By proving to the satisfaction of the police that he was busy at the time blowing open someone's safe.
That's right, Governor.
Good gracious me.
Joe, now you can help me.
Come on, buzz off, buzz off. Come on, up it, up it. Can't a gentleman have some peace and quiet around here? And you too. There you are, Mr. Holmes. Now we can have some peace and quiet around here.
Thank you, Joe. There's £5 in this for you.
Well, I wouldn't want to take it on myself, sir, but I can get somebody to do it for you for half of that.
You don't know what the job is yet.
For £5? Murder, ain't it?
What? No, Joe, not murder, just music. I want you to identify a song for me.
Oh, there ain't a song that's been written that I don't know.
That's why I came to you. Of course, the violin is more my instrument, but, oh, well, here we go. Now listen to this, Joe.
Wait a minute. You're playing that wrong. That should be E natural, not E flat.
You know the song?
Oh, yes. It's an old Australian song called, The Swag Man. But you're playing it all wrong.
That's what I hoped you'd say. Now listen again, Joe.
That's the same tune, all right, but you're making different mistakes than you did the first time.
No, not mistakes, Joe. Call them variations. Here, play the song for me, will you, the way it's written. Thank you, Joe.
What's it mean, Holmes? Are you onto something?
Perhaps. I don't know yet. It's probably a code of some sort. Joe, could you write the song down for me? The way it was originally written?
Oh, sure, Mr. Holmes. But it'll take a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Here, Mabel. Pale ale. Come on, up to it. Along with it.
Well, obviously it isn't the lyrics. No combination of those words made any sense at all.
The variations in the way Emery's musical box played the tune are different from the variations in the one we have.
You sure?
Quite. You see, I took the trouble to memorize the tune as played by Emery's box that night we were with him in his flat.
Holmes, you amaze me.
Elementary, my dear fellow. One of the first principles in solving crime is never to disregard anything, no matter how trivial.
But why are 3 boxes? Why not 1?
Because the message was obviously too long to be conveyed by any one variation. Then there's the 3rd box, the one that woman took from the Kilgores. That contains yet another set of variations.
Yes, well, it's all beyond me.
Well, all we have to do now is to find the secret of the variations. Not a very easy problem to solve, my dear fellow. Hello.
What's up?
We've had company.
I say, this is outrageous.
Ask Mrs. Hudson to come in here, will you?
Right. Mrs. Hudson?
Yes?
Oh, there you are. Will you come up here at once, please?
Oh, coming, sir.
Mercy me, Mr. Holmes. What has happened?
Who called while we were out, Mrs. Hudson?
Just a young lady. The one who said you wanted her to wait for you. And a nice-looking old gentleman with
Our
her.
friends again, Watson.
Friends?
What did the young lady look like?
Oh, I couldn't see her face. She had a heavy black veil on. But she had such a nice way with her. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Holmes, if I've done anything wrong. But you did say I should always let clients come in and wait for you.
Don't worry, Mrs. Hudson, don't worry. You had no way of knowing. It's quite all right, quite all right. Now, don't worry, Mrs. Hudson.
Don't worry. Well, where on earth's the musical box?
They didn't get it.
Didn't get it? Where is it?
It's in your hand.
Huh?
In that biscuit jar. Take the biscuits off the top. Now put your hand inside, and you'll find the music box.
Well done, Holmes. Well done. Amazing. Phew. Nice fresh smell. Like a pub after closing time. I say, Holmes,
What?
it's morning.
Allow me to congratulate you on a brilliant bit of deduction. It's not a transposition, not a polygraph transposition, not a trigraph, nor any known form of decoding.
How about the Morse code? Have you tried that?
Yes, at about 3 o'clock this morning.
I'm sorry, old man. I was only trying to help. Oh, do me a favor. Not again. Must have heard that thing 1,000 times. Kept me awake all night.
Not
a very distinguished composition, I grant you.
You know perfectly well I don't know one tune from the other. When I was a kid, my people tried to have me taught the piano. I've always felt sorry for that old teacher of mine. The poor old girl finally reached the point of numbering the keys for me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Even then, I never progressed beyond...
Numbering the keys, Watson. The 19th key of the keyboard is the 19th letter of the alphabet. S. Here. Write it down when I give it to you, old fellow, will you? The first altered note. Write S first. Now, the 8th key is H. The 5th key, E. The 12th key, L. The 6th key, F.
S-H-E-L-F. Shelf.
Your piano lessons were not in vain, old fellow. You've solved it. Thank you.
Thanks, Obin. Hold it.
We now have 2/3 of the message. Behind books, third shelf, secretary, Dr. S. Presumably, these are the first and second portions of the message.
And this gang has the first and third parts of it.
Precisely.
Then it's a stalemate?
Yes, Commissioner, but we can't leave it like that. There's no doubt in my mind that they'll try to secure our third of the message that's missing.
Well, I assume you've taken every precaution to guard the Clifford Music Club.
Oh, yes, it's carefully hidden at Baker Street with Dr. Watson on guard. However, I'm reasonably certain that, difficult as it may be, we can find the plates even without the missing part of the message.
Behind books, third shelf, secretary, Dr. S.
Well, outside of the fact that Davidson hid the Bank of England plate somewhere in London, Mr. Holmes, I don't see that we've progressed at all.
Allow me to point out to you, sir, the key words, Dr. S. It looks as if the plates were hidden in the house of the doctor. Whether S stands for his first or last initial remains to be determined by a process of elimination.
Well, there must be 10,000 doctors in London with S for a first or last initial.
Precisely. And every one of them will have to be questioned in person. That's why I say this is a task for Scotland Yard.
It's a task, all right. But Scotland Yard has searched worse haystacks and found the needle.
Well, for the time being, I'll leave the matter in your hands, gentlemen.
We'll call you if and when we get a lead on our mysterious Dr. S.
Thank you. In the meantime, I intend to follow up a little clue concerning a cigarette. You're certain of the identification of the tobacco?
Absolutely. I have made up this special blend for only 3 customers. It is almost pure Egyptian, with admixture of latakia for added body, and a pinch of perique. Merely a whisper, as one might say, for elusive fragrance.
Yes, yes. And the 3 customers?
Major Wilson in Bombay, India. Mrs. Catherine Leamington Smith in Ireland.
Yes, and the third?
Mrs. Hilda Courtney of Park Mansions, Bryanston Square.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You've been most helpful.
It is a pleasure to have been of service, Mr. Holmes.
Yes?
Mrs. Courtney?
Yes.
My name is Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, do come in.
Thank you.
I've heard of you, of course, Mr. Holmes. I believe we have a mutual friend in Sir Edward Brookdale. He's spoken to me of you quite often.
Indeed.
And to what good fortune am I indebted for this visit?
I think you know Mrs. Courtney.
Well, I did get a summons for speeding last week. But outside of that, I don't think I'm of any interest to the police.
Oh, come now, Mrs. Courtney. You seem to forget that you and I have met before.
I'm sorry. I'm sure I would have remembered meeting the great Sherlock Holmes. Please sit down.
Thank you.
You say we met before.
Yes. At the home of Mr. and Mrs. Kilgore, 143B Hampton Road.
Kilgore? I don't think I know anyone of that name.
Well, I didn't say you knew them. As a matter of fact, you called on them when they were out.
I don't understand, Mr. Holmes.
Really? And you were dressed rather differently.
Indeed. Cigarette?
Thank you.
Thank you. You know, Mrs. Courtney, people generally forget, in assuming a disguise, that the shape of the ear is an almost infallible means of recognition and identification to the trained eye.
Evidently, you've mistaken me for someone else.
Oh, no, not at all. Though naturally, I expected your denial. But when you paid your visit to my rooms at Baker Street, you carelessly left behind another identification. They're, identical, aren't they?
Yes, I must admit they are. You see, Mr. Holmes, to catch one as clever as you, I had to use a very special lure. I knew you'd be unable to resist the bait of my cigarette, having read with great interest your monograph on the ashes of 140 different varieties of tobacco.
I should advise you not to move, Mr. Holmes.
I must congratulate you on your ingenuity, Mrs. Courtney. It was indeed a brilliantly designed trap.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. Praise from a master is indeed gratifying. I shall always cherish the memory of your flattering words.
Memory?
Precisely. I'm afraid these gentlemen have a most regrettable task to perform.
Unless, of course, you care to turn over the missing musical box with your pledge to take no action against us in the future.
I'm afraid that will be impossible.
I thought that would be your answer. Hamid! Careful! Careful. There's no need to be unnecessarily rough with our distinguished guest.
You realize, Mr. Holmes, that your demise will not take place here. The corpus delicti, you know.
Well, naturally.
Shall we go?
It's so fearfully awkward having a dead body lying about. Don't you agree, Mr. Holmes?
Another dead body shouldn't weigh too heavily on your conscience, Mrs. Courtney. You mind if I have a cigarette?
Ah, don't see why not. Be careful, Hamid.
It's the brakes, they bind. Thank you, Colonel Cavanaugh. It's very considerate of you.
You'll be happy to know, Mr. Holmes, that your death will be a painless one. Hamid, attach this to the motor of the taxi. That little attachment, my dear Mr. Holmes, contains the deadly fluid known as monosulfide. The Germans use it with gratifying results in removing their undesirables. Start the motor. Tape his mouth. Now, up with him, Hamid. You find yourself like Muhammad's coffin, Mr. Holmes, suspended between heaven and earth. Plenty of fuel in the tank? Good. It would be too bad to have anything go wrong through so simple an oversight.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Sherlock Holmes?
No, I'm Dr. Watson.
Oh, of course, Dr. Watson. How stupid of me.
Oh, so this is stupid of me. Won't you come in?
Well, I really came to see Mr. Holmes.
Oh, I'm afraid he's out. I don't know when he'll be back. Perhaps there's something I can do. Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
You know, Sherlock Holmes and I have been engaged on a great many cases.
Oh, really?
Yes, indeed. As a matter of fact, this very moment, we're involved in one of the most baffling... Oh, well, won't you tell me your trouble, and I may be able to help you.
That's very kind of you, Dr. Watson. Perhaps if I wouldn't be imposing too much.
Imposing? Oh, there's no imposition. No imposition at all. A pleasure, I assure you. Now, tell me all about it,
Miss Williams.
Mrs. Williams.
I live in Surrey, Dr. Watson, and I've come up to London in sheer desperation. My only sister has disappeared, and the local police seem utterly unable to find her.
Well, Holmes and I solved a case exactly like that once. Very interesting, as far as I remember. I call it the adventure of the solitary cyclist. Oh, sorry. Now I come to think of it, it wasn't so very similar. Entirely different. I don't think what I was saying. Where were we?
She's only 17, Dr. Watson, and until she disappeared last Thursday, she seemed to be in the best of spirits.
Oh, possibly a romantic entanglement?
Oh, no, nothing of the sort. She left no note, didn't even pack a bag, no explanation. She just started to walk to the village from our house in broad daylight and simply vanished from the face of the earth.
Oh, there.
Might I have a glass of water?
Glass of water. One minute. There you are, my dear.
Thank you, Dr. Watson.
No, you're not to cry anymore. You must pull yourself together.
Oh, I feel much better already knowing that you're going to help me. Oh, Dr. Watson, look!
Good heavens! Oh. Get through the fire brigade, quickly!
Haven't you a fire extinguisher?
By George, we have in the kitchen. Don't you worry, Miss Williams. We'll have this thing out in no time. Ah, that's got it. It's a mare. Well, you see, there was no need for the fire brigade after all. I hope you weren't too frightened, Miss Williams. Oh, gone. That's the trouble with women. They always lose their heads in an emergency. Well... a musical box. Great Scott! Miss Williams!
Well? Good.
And Holmes?
By now, Mr. Holmes has no doubt exchanged his violin for a harp.
Always assuming that heaven is his destination. And now that we have the missing musical box. Nineteenth note. 19th letter.
Yes.
He hasn't been there, you say? Holmes, where on earth have you been? I've been trying to get you at the club, at Scotland Yard, all over London.
You You're looking for me in the wrong places.
Holmes, terrible things happened. I've been duped. That woman, she made a complete fool of me.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, she came here, let off a smoke bomb. I thought the whole place was on fire, and my first thought was to save the musical box.
No need to say any more. She has the box.
Yes.
Don't blame yourself too much, old fellow. She's an extremely clever antagonist. Smoke bomb, you said? Well, you can console yourself with the thought that your charming friend is at least a reader of yours.
What do you mean?
If I remember correctly, you wrote about my little experiment with smoke and the cry of fire in a story you entitled A Scandal in Bohemia, which has just appeared in the Strand magazine.
All right, old boy. Don't rub it in.
Well, it may cheer you up to know that you made a fool of me, too. That cigarette stub was planted here for one express purpose. You're going to bandaging around this place.
Bandaging? What's the matter, Holmes? You hurt?
Explanations will have to wait until later. At the moment, we're faced with a problem which I fear is insurmountable.
Come over here, old boy, will you?
Right. Our opponents are in possession of all three parts of the code. And here are we, while the Bank of England plates pass into their possession.
Cheer up, old fellow, cheer up. As Dr. Samuel Johnson once said, there's no problem the mind of man can set that the mind of man cannot solve.
What's that, old fellow?
I was just quoting Dr. Samuel Johnson. He said there is
Thank you, Watson. Thank you.
Leaving the front reception room, we come into the main hall, where Dr. Johnson was in the habit of passing through to have his meager meals in the dining room opposite, in company with his friend and biographer, James Boswell. We will now pass up the stairway, which remains in its natural wood finish, just as it was when the good doctor was here. The framed etching on the wall is believed to have been presented to Dr. Johnson by the distinguished painter, Sir Joshua Reynolds.
I've been told here that picture was given in by Mrs. Thrale, and it's definitely not a Reynolds.
Is that important, my dear? Oh, I'm sorry.
This way, ladies and gentlemen, please, this way.
Move along, children, move along.
The secretary's not on this floor.
Patience, Hamid.
I've a feeling
My
that...
dear Colonel, with Sherlock Holmes out of the way, what could go wrong?
And here we have the Garrett Library, in which Dr. Johnson wrote his famous dictionary, and in which you will see also many of the great man's books and other items of interest. Step forward, ladies and gentlemen, please, step forward. Standing in the corner is the secretary, which contains many of the original works by the literary genius. On this table, Dr. Johnson's cat, Hodge, used to sleep while his master worked. A strange thing about this cat, ladies and gentlemen, was its love of oysters. They do say that the dear doctor often went hungry to find the cat that delicacy. What a pity. Now we will visit the grey room, which is immediately below us, in which you will see the very bed in which Dr. Johnson died.
What did he die of?
Gout. Just gout. This way, ladies and gentlemen. Mind the steps, please.
Your keys.
Third shelf up. The knife. Gentlemen, the Bank of England plates.
Well, Mrs. Courtney, so we meet again. No, I shouldn't do that if I were you, Colonel Cavanaugh.
I must congratulate you, Mr. Holmes. You're far more clever than I thought.
Thank you, Mrs. Courtney. Praise from you is indeed gratifying. I shall always cherish the memory of, 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 of,
Thank you.
And now I have a most regrettable task to perform.
Holmes! Coming, Holmes! Holmes, you all right?
Perfectly, thank you, old fellow, but I think this gentleman on the floor requires some medical attention. We must see that he looks his best, you know, when he's hanged.
Take them in charge.
A brilliant antagonist. It's a pity her talents were so misdirected. Will you see that these plates are returned to the Bank of England, Inspector?
I still don't understand how you solved it, Mr. Holmes.
It's entirely due to Dr. Watson. He gave me the clue when he mentioned Dr. Samuel Johnson.
Well, congratulations, Doctor.
Oh, thank you, Inspector. I don't think I'd have done it entirely without Mr. Holmes's help, you know. Oh.